All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our first LinkedIn Live event. Thank you very much for being here with us today.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our first LinkedIn Live event. Thank you very much for being here with us today.
All right. This was great. My name is Oleg. I'm the host of the event. Fantastic to see. I see that people are still joining us here. So before we getting started with the first presentations today, I want to, we see, all right, I see so many of you here, so fantastic to see. So, I'm Oleg Poli, one of the organizers of the event, and what do we have today? So, welcome to this live event. Fantastic to see so many of you here. So what's going to be, many of you know me from the past. I'm co-founder of Games Factory Talents. I'm a lead recruiter here. I organized the first Games Job Fair in 2018. So, oh my God, time flies, almost like 4 years ago. In the past, I've been helping foreign companies get started, get the operations running in Finland. So help a few studios to come over, get started. And for the last 5.5 years, I'm helping talents from all over the world to land the job at the leading game studios from Europe. And before that, I also worked for Nokia actually for 7 years. And this is where I think I fell in love with the mobile games, with the first Engage phone when it came out. So I'm happy that it continued, my passion continued. And even though I'm not a game developer, it allowed me to be part of that games industry and meet so many great and creative people. As a company, Games Factory Talents, what we do is that we hire talents for the studios. I believe that some of you we have hired directly. We organize these game shop fairs 2 times a year, always in April and in October, so in the fall and in the spring. And we also host the talent board, the anonymous talent board that runs on our website. But today, I want to give most visibility to our lovely studios. One important thing before we get started, this is a LinkedIn Live event. Oh my God, we are almost 600 people. First thing I want you to know is that the questions and the discussions with the companies will happen on Discord. If you have not yet joined the Discord, please do it. My colleague is going to shoot the link. It's Games Factory Talents Discord in there, so please join there because the Q&A will be happening there. You will find there a channel called Games Job Fair Spring 2024 LITE, and there will be sub-channels. There's the event Q&A, so for all your questions related to that you want to ask the speakers, the presenters today, please use it. And each studio today, FunPlus, Metacore, Giants, Software, and Strikers, they have their own channels with the jobs and the studio name and the chat. This is where you will be able to see the jobs, of course, apply to them, but also there's a chat. So please use this opportunity to get connected with the companies. So once again, as said, Discord is super important. The Q&A part will happen on Discord in there. Please make sure that you are there. And let's have a great event. And I'll continue with the next speaker. Fantastic to have you here. So if anything, also, you can find me there on Discord and my colleague and pin us there for any questions. So see you soon. And we are back again. So please welcome Eleanor and Henrik from FunPlus today. And the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, Oleg. Nice to meet you, everybody. I'm great to see so many people online at this event. So my name's Eleanor. I'm the VP of Global PR and Communications at FunPlus. I am currently sitting in Zug in Switzerland, and it is snowing. And I am here with my colleague Enrique, who maybe Enrique, you want to introduce yourself from sunny Barcelona.
Thanks, Eleanor. So, hey, nice to meet you. This is Enrique Capestani. I'm the VP of Publishing for the West markets at FunPlus, and I'm in Barcelona, so it's a little bit sunny here. So sorry for the snow and the winter side that you have right now in Switzerland. Thanks.
Okay. I'll come and visit you soon. Great. Okay, so we are here to present you a little bit more about FunPlus, the company, the people who make up this company, and also the games that we create. And then, as Oleg said, at the end, there'll be a few of us available on Discord to answer any questions that you might have. So let's get started. So very quickly, first of all, who we are at FunPlus. So you may have heard of us, or I'm sure that you've heard of our games. So we're one of the largest privately held companies in the gaming space. We were founded back in 2010, and we create interactive entertainment experiences. So you may have heard of some of our games, such as State of Survival, King of Avalon, Guns of Glory, and most recently Stormshot and Sea of Conquest. So these are games that are for the most part available cross-platform, mobile and PC, and they are created by over 2,000 talents who are spread across 3 continents. So both Enrique and I and our teams are based in Europe, and we also have a strong footprint in China. So we're going to talk a little bit more about, sorry, I've got to find my mouse, there we go, about who we are in this video, so you can get to know a little bit more about who FunPlus is straight from the mouths of the teams themselves. If we can launch the first video.
The huge potential.
冠军的精神 A very supportive team.
勇气
Solid leadership team.
ambition 还有准
Success.
质量
opportunity,
Improving.
成就的
forward thinkingness.
Team oriented.
player focus curiosity
Changing the game.
友好
global 快节奏
Brave, focused, international,
dynamic 有趣的
保持进取心
family
冠军精神
Muslim
Intense.
加为核心的
快速成
creative
encouraging
也是一家非常坚定坚持的公司
entrepreneurial,
坚韧性
passionate, wild, 前沿的，开放，沉浸的
connections
learning
the multicultural,
非常富有野心 co-creation
Great, thank you. So no better way to get to know a company than through the people behind it. And as you can see from that video, it's very international, very diverse group of people. You actually caught a sneak peek of our CEO in there. There were interns in that video. There's like a huge variety of people, and it's a lot of fun, which is a good thing because we are FunPlus. Okay, moving on. So just to remind you all, we are more than 2,000 people. There are more than 20 nationalities at the company, and that's sort of I would say an estimate, and it's likely many, many more. And we have 10 office locations. And I'm going to hand over to Enrique just to speak a little bit more about our presence in Barcelona, because that is our biggest presence in Europe. And he oversees a lot of the work that we do there alongside our head of studio, Felipe. So Enrique, I'll let you just speak a little bit more about the job functions in Barcelona.
Sure. So actually in Barcelona, we have two different functions. The first one that has been opened up in 2019 was the publishing, in order to support the live games at that momentum, but also to support the new games that we're launching. And most recently, last year, we opened up a new hybrid casual studio that is led by Felipe Mata, and we're growing that area. Most likely by the end of this year, we're going to be seeing the new product that we're going to be launching from Barcelona studio. Apart from this, of course, the team is growing. As you can imagine, we're launching, you will see a little bit later that we're going to be launching new games recently. And in the next few years, we have a very strong pipeline of potential games. The team is growing in order to try to support all those games in the publishing side. But also we hope, and we're really excited about the growth that the Barcelona studio is going to be having as well.
Thank you, Enrique. Yeah, so as Enrique says, we've been in Barcelona since 2019, and it's a flourishing gaming industry there for sure. But I think having been there for 5 years means that we've had got a really strong footprint there, which is great. As for us here in Zug, we're a smaller team. There are about a dozen of us, and we are the global headquarters. So we have some of the main finance, business development, legal, communications functions, and I would say that all of us work in a very international way. So not a day goes by that you're not in contact with people from around the world. So it's really a very exciting place to work in that sense.
Just to let you know, in Barcelona, I think that we have more or less around 15 or 17 different nationalities. So this is something that shows how global is the company.
For sure. And we always hear lots of different languages. And we have, Chinese colleagues or Chinese speaking colleagues as well in Europe, who are also a great bridge between all our colleagues also who are making a lot of the games in China. So a little bit more about our mission. So it's to build a global cross-cultural organization which is powered by industry-leading talent and providing users worldwide with ultimate entertainment experiences. You'll note that there we don't talk about specifically gaming experiences, because really our goal is to go beyond games. And our vision is to become one of the top 3 global interactive entertainment companies. So again, you can see that we're thinking beyond games, which is also very exciting. We have just another video here, just to sort of get to know the people a little bit more. So we'll let you enjoy this one too.
Boom, boom.
as you can see from that video, if you go back to sort of the middle part of it, there's a big emphasis on team building and fun team activities as well, I think. I know that in Barcelona you have a thriving football team, which is great. And then you saw, for example, we actually participated in the Pride Parade in Barcelona last year. We are involved in numerous different CSR initiatives, which are really important to our teams and obviously to the company, but they create a real sense of belonging, I think. So as part of our Pride celebrations last year, we actually became a sponsor of the Gay Gaming Professionals group. We've also contributed to local organizations in Barcelona to have a local impact, a local community impact. And then there's various other CSR activities that we do around the world. And I would encourage you, if you're interested in finding out more about like stories behind the company, to go to funplus.com, which is our website. We actually have a blog there called Spotlight, and there's some really interesting interviews and a little bit more behind the scenes information about who we are and the people behind the company as well. Just a little bit more about how we see ourselves growing. So I really tried to emphasize this idea of, going beyond games, and a lot of that is IP creation. So we are certainly looking to create our own IPs. We're big believers that the next IP, the next big entertainment IP, will take root in gaming. And why shouldn't it be FunPlus who creates that next big entertainment IP? So as you can see here, really there's plenty of strategies to take us into the future of entertainment. And just to give a little bit more idea of how that will work, we now have a senior vice president of world building and IP strategy who is looking at how to enhance our existing game worlds, and also create new ones, and new original IPs that will go beyond games. So again, exciting times. So Alex Amancio, this person who's in charge of this IP strategy, is actually based in Portugal. So that is another place where we will be definitely growing in the future. I'm going to hand over to Enrique just to highlight a few moments in the FunPlus story, so that you can get to know kind of where we came from.
So thanks, Eleanor. I think that you summarized it really well on the first slide, but I'm going to be just highlighting a few of these amazing moments that we had. So in 2010, our co-founders, Ande and Zitao, both of them created a new studio in order to try to build, let's say, social community, social gamings. Social gamings meaning on the social media, and we've been growing from them. In 2012, they renamed the company as FunPlus. It was a really important momentum because they started with a different type of naming on the studios. And the company has been evolving from those games into another type of games that they've been creating. Some of them were like Guns of Glory or King of Avalon. And the important situation was in 2016 when the company sold the studio that they created on the beginning, more on social media gaming, into Dian, the studio Dian into Century Games, a big Chinese company. And then they keep the brand and they keep growing the strategy genre of the type of games that we've been building. The next interesting momentum, it was in 2019 when State of Survival, the largest game that the company created, has been launched. Since then, the company has been growing, creating more games. And honestly, another interesting successful momentum was, we passed the slide in 2019 when at that momentum we opened up the Barcelona Publishing Studio in order to support State of Survival Global Publishing. But then we've been growing in teams, we've been evolving, and then more games came into it. But apart from this, I think that another important momentum in the company was, I want to highlight that in 2022, we opened up the new studio also in Barcelona. Before that, sorry that I missed, that we moved our global headquarters into Zug. So we opened in in 2020 the new headquarters, the global one. That's the reason why Eleanor is there, and some other people on the management and some other teams are located over there. But going back into the topic, on 2022, we opened up the new studio led by Felipe in order to try to open up a little bit more our broader audiences globally. And in order to be this global company, we only not wanted to focus in the strategy genre. And that's the reason why we created this new hybrid casual studio led by Felipe. And we're growing over here. I think that finally, the other relevant point is that most recently there's two important hits that we make. One is we surpassed 150 million users globally in State of Survival. That makes a really big hit into the company because it shows how the game has been successful during these last years. And finally, I would say that trying to follow up with the strategy of creating amazing games. Recently, this year, we launched into the market Sea of Conquest, that this is a new kind of strategy game created on a pirate world, that it will be amazing. And I encourage everyone that is listening, this streaming, to follow us and to join this game, because you're going to be really excited. And you will see also how the strategy general evolution of the game's play is managed in this game, and honestly you will like it a lot. Well, I think that's mostly everything on the storyline. If you guys have any kind of questions, you guys can reach out to us and we will try to explain you a little bit more deeper. Apart from this, we want to try to explain you a little bit more about our hits. So I will let Eleanor to jump into this part, and then later on I'm going to be jumping into the games part.
Great, thanks, Enrique. Yeah, so it's been quite a busy 14 years since the company was established, and so we're now known for these sort of 6 flagship games, which are State of Survival, King of Avalon, Guns of Glory, Storm Shot, Sea of Conquest, and Call of Antia. So we have more than 350 million total downloads of those games, and more than 9 million people who are playing our games each month. We actually have 2 other games, which I'll let Enrique talk about in a couple of minutes, but in collaboration with really renowned IPs in the entertainment space. Just for those, I keep mentioning this word IP, and I suddenly realized perhaps it's not obvious. IP for intellectual property. So really the, an entertainment world, let's say. And then of course we have players really who are enjoying our games around the world. So we're catering to different communities of players really across the entire globe. We've got just a very quick video here to just to show a little bit more about our top 3 strategy games, and then we'll talk just a little bit more quickly about the other games in our portfolio. Okay, so as you'd have seen in that video, Enrique, I just let you speak to these titles.
So I think that what is relevant that we need to highlight here is that, as you've seen, these games has been launched, some of them like Guns of Glory or King of Avalon, for a few years. So what it's important to highlight is that these games has been in the top grossing charts and the most recognized games globally for a long time. This means that our games are done with our heart. Our users are really loving our games, and that's the reason why they've been so successfully for so long time. So we care about our users, we care about the job that we do, and that's the reason why these 3 games are really successful. If you see on the charts, on downloads, on the charts of grossing of these games, you will see that most of the players are really happy enjoying what we're building, because we build the games for our players. we can move on. So I'm going to be just, Eleanor already highlighted these 3 games. So State of Survival, Guns of Glory, and King of Avalon. Also, we have other type of genres, as I mentioned to you. We launched, well, let's say this RPG game that it's called Colofantia. A couple of years ago. It's performing pretty decently, pretty well. Not at the same level as the other ones, but you can see that there is a different type of style of game that we're producing that also it's engaging a lot different type of users, and they really enjoy. Apart from this, we launched 2 different new games. One is a Stormshot that was launched last year with a very successful numbers and really successful engagement coming from the users. Sorry about this. And most recently, as I mentioned before, Sea of Conquest. Sea of Conquest is this new type of evolution of strategy games that has been launched early this year. We soft launched that game for almost 3 months last year, and it shows up that the data was pretty solid and pretty robust. We decided to launch it globally, and honestly, it's been amazing. It's been amazing how the users has been downloading this game. They are playing all the time, and they are enjoying the new type of play games that we're introducing into this game on a constant basis. So the company is pretty happy about this, but also we need to see that we're really proud because we're also winning some awards from the industry among these games that we're producing. And moving on into the next, what is coming, right? So we recently did the announcement of 2 IP titles that we're doing. It's the first time that the company has been working with third-party IP holders, and last year we announced the new cooperation with Warner Brothers, and we're launching this year DC Dark Legion. Is a new game focused on the strategy genre that is going to be launched by mid this year or during this year, let's say, for all the users globally. We're testing it. Everyone who is testing it is really excited. Our partners are really excited about this, and we think that if you are a superhero or a lover, so you need to follow and download this game, definitely. And also the other game that we announced recently is Foundation. So if you are a fan of Isaac Asimov, you guys need definitely to play this game. If you like the sci-fi type of games, this game is going to be impressing you, and definitely be aware that this is going to be launched by the end of this year. Next year, most likely, is going to be global launch. So I'm happy to answer any type of questions about these games that we are having in the pipeline that we recently announced that are going to be global launched. And of course, there's way more that is going to be coming on the pipeline. Be tuned, because we're going to be announcing more things. But honestly, as you can see, our company is doing a lot. It's doing a lot of games in different type of genres, growing a lot, and also starting cooperating with different IP holders that are trusting us in order to build these great quality games. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Enrique. Yeah, so just to highlight there, we are working, as Enrique said, with different IP holders, whether that be on new games themselves or integrations for the existing games. So you may have seen most recently, we saw the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arrive in State of Survival, which is pretty exciting. You know, so really partnering with the best in the business, I would say, from a tech, from a marketing point of view as well. And then I mentioned as well some of the CSR activities that we are doing in partner with external organizations as well. So really quite prestigious partners to be working with, which is very exciting. And then, I mean, the point of this presentation, I think, is to sort of say to you to keep an eye on FunPlus. If you're, you know, looking to break into the gaming industry, we have some fantastic career starter programs, which, you know, are a really interesting way to start to test out your skills in a very nurturing and exciting environment. We have all of our roles available on the careers page, and those are updated regularly. So if what you're looking for is not there today, please check back in a few weeks or a few months to see whether there are any updates. I'm going to click onto the next slide because this is also an important one if you want to check out any of the topics that we have talked about today, play our games, and we also tend to advertise a lot of our open positions on channels like LinkedIn and across different social media channels, so definitely keep an eye on those. And then finally, if you do want to hear more from any FunPlus people, we have 2 speakers this afternoon. We have Moritz, who is one of our community managers, who's speaking at 2 o'clock about successful feedback loops. And then we have Dimitris, who is our growth marketing manager, who is speaking about influencer marketing at 2:40. So you can hear more from the FunPlus team as well slightly later today. And then for any questions, of course, we're going to be jumping. I'll be over on Discord in a few minutes with one of our HR team members and a couple of other people to answer any questions that you might have. So don't hesitate. Don't hesitate to reach out to either of us on LinkedIn if you want to connect. We're happy to. And wish you all a great event and a great career in gaming. Here we go. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, here's Discord. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I think Oleg, you're muted. We cannot listen to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Eleanor. Thank you very much, Hendrik. We have, oh my God, 900 people watching us. I want to remind you to join us on Discord for the Q&A session and chat. Thank you very much for being with us today. We're going to continue with the program, and my colleague is putting in the chat, so everyone who is watching us, you can please join on the Discord. I see there's already discussion getting started. So once again, thank you very much, and we continue with the program.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
All right, everyone, and we are going to continue with the program. Please welcome Hanna. Hanna, you need to unmute.
Hello, everyone.
All right. Hanna, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Oleg. And hello, everyone. I'm Hanna from Metacore. I'm working here as a people lead, which basically means that I am supporting our whole people team, also known as HR. And yes, so I could maybe first introduce myself. So I've been working here almost a year now, and I've been working in HR for almost 15 years, mainly in tech companies, but this is the first time I'm working in a gaming company. And yeah, I have to say that at least my personal experience has been very, very positive. Metacore is probably the best, coolest companies I've ever worked for. Super, super nice people, amazing culture. So I'm happy to tell you a little bit more about us today, what a little bit about our culture and what defines us. So that's the agenda for today. So some of you might know us already, but for some of you, the company Metacore might be new. So basically, we are a gaming company based in Helsinki, Finland. And in the past almost 4 years, we have been mainly operating in Helsinki. Our headquarters is in Helsinki, but 3 months ago, we opened a new office in Berlin as well. So this is a completely new setup for us. We are becoming more and more international and going global. So yeah, the company was launched in 2020. So we are a very, very young company. So I would say it's a scale up, and it's been quite an interesting journey, because we have a very big global hit game called Merge Mansion, which already has over 50 million players, which is like just a huge number. It's almost difficult to understand how many people that are. So that's why also the company has been growing a lot in the past 3+ years. And yeah, our mission is to entertain hundreds of millions of people for decades. It's a very ambitious goal, but that's also quite inspiring mission at the same time. Players are the closest thing to a boss at Metacore. So whatever we do here, whatever we decide, whatever happens here, it should all be connected to our players. What do they want? What do they need? So players are the boss here at Metacore. Here's a little bit about us. So at the moment, we are the fastest growing tech company in Finland and the fastest growing game company in Europe. So the revenue, this number is from 2022, but at the moment the revenue is closer to 200. The growth rate has been quite huge in the past years, and that has also affected our team size, which is almost it's almost around 230 at the moment, and this number might be already old because it's changing almost every day. We have around 15 to 20 people joining the company per month, so the growth pace is quite fast. For example, I started a year ago, and back then the headcount was around 150, and it's already 100+ people since that. So it just let's just say it's quite intensive, but also it's super exciting that new people are joining the company all the time from around the world. So it's so exciting to be part of this kind of growth journey. Funding raised, we have raised funding from, for example, from Supercell, and at the moment our employees engagement score is 85 out of 100, which I would say personally is pretty good score, considering that the growth pace is so fast, because it would be only natural that the growth pace would affect the culture or the kind of the engagement here, but somehow we have managed to really take care of our culture and people at the same time while we are growing, which is not always easy. But the well-being of our people is always the priority. So that's why we have wanted to make sure that the growth is sustainable and it's not affecting the culture too much. We have a hit, like I mentioned, we have a hit game called Merge Mansion. Some of you might recognize these characters here. It's been really a popular game, and of course, on top of this game, we have several other games. We have this new games department where we are launching or developing new games all the time. So it's not just this one hit game, but there are several other games cooking at the same time. So that also maybe makes the company interesting for many, that there are these huge global hit games, but also at the same time smaller game development. So there's something for everyone, depending on your personal interests. We have invested a lot on our marketing. So some of you might recognize Katie Bates. She has given faces to our grandma character in Merge Mansion's TV ads, and also we have done one huge campaign with, for example, Petra Pascal, and these ads have won several awards, and I would recommend checking out the YouTube channel and check this video, for example. It's really cool, and the rumor has it that we have still, for example, Petra Pascal's shoes in our office. So it was a very exciting campaign to do with him. Then a little bit about our workplace. So like I mentioned, the team size is around 230 people at the moment, and we continue to hire in the future as well. So this year the company will grow with around 100 people. So there are several open positions on our website at the moment too. The employee engagement score is 25, like I mentioned, and current employee NPS score stands at 67. So basically it means that we are asking from our employees that how likely they would recommend Metacore as a place to work. And 67 out of 100 is the score at the moment, which if you compare to the NPS score to other companies, it's really high. And our culture is built and developed based on trust, autonomy, psychological safety, and well-being. we're always talking about this that it's important to find the balance between high care and high performance, and we believe that the high performance comes from high care. So that's why at the moment we are investing a lot on the well-being of our employees, and at least based on my experience, it pays off, and people have been appreciating that a lot, that we are trusting them a lot. There's a lot of autonomy in the company, a lot of trust, a lot of transparency. It's almost brutally transparent, like we will share almost everything, and everyone can get their voices heard here. So it's a very like a flat hierarchy with high transparency. These are our culture fundamentals. So the first one is always put Metacore first. So basically it means in practice that you should always think we before I, what the company needs, what the players need, what our team needs, instead of your own personal interests. Then we have a very high ambition level and passion for your own role. We hire people who are very extremely passionate about their own field of expertise, and you can really see it here. And personally, I have to say that it's so inspiring to work with those kind of people, or surround yourself with that kind of people who are so talented and so like in their own field of expertise on a very high level. And it's actually quite diverse situation in terms of talent, because we have people from tech field, art people, so it's a very, very diverse group of people. So that's what makes it exciting. Then third, we have show ownership and carry your responsibility. So as I mentioned, there's a lot of trust, but that also requires that people take ownership and carry their own responsibility. So very independent roles. Focus on what matters most. So basically, it's like I mentioned, we are growing so fast. So this is the key, that people are focusing on the right things, what is important at the moment and what brings value to us at the moment. And then lastly, make informed decisions with freedom and responsibility. So like I mentioned, the hierarchy, it's quite flat at the moment. So people have a lot of power to do decisions on their own. But it's a balance of freedom and responsibility. Then about our business fundamentals. So we create games for our players, not for ourselves. It's always good to keep that in mind. We must be super creative. The market is very competitive, so that's why we need to be on top of our game all the time. We are extremely market oriented and we make decisions based on data. So we need to follow the market all the time. What are our competitors doing at the moment? What do the players need? How do they react? So we are following the data very closely. We also take calculated risks, which also means that sometimes we fail, but we learn from those mistakes. But yeah, it's also, when you're moving so fast, it means that sometimes you need to take some risks along the way. We start game development by finding a market fit in small teams. And then if we feel that, hey, this is hitting off, then we accelerate towards the global launch as a growing team. So our gaming teams are all in very different stages at the moment, and different kind of talent are needed on different stages. we are geared for constant change, which also means that we are hiring people who kind of enjoy this kind of environment where things are changing all the time and there's no boring day. And that's why we require a lot of resilience from our people. It's not for everyone, but we are in our hiring process, we are trying to find people who are very resilient and enjoy working in a ever-changing environment like this. And we make decisions based on long-term benefits, so no quick wins. Sometimes it requires a lot of patience to see the results, but that's how we roll. Great. Then I think that in our audience, we might have people also outside of Finland. So a couple of words about Finland. So it's a very small country, but it's known for its world-class education. We have a lot of lakes here, and the work-life balance is just amazing. Like 8-hour work days, and we also as a company support that work-life balance a lot, so no working overtime. We also have a lot of saunas, and of course we are also well known from our mobile games. Finland is home to some of the world's leading game studios. Some of you might know Supercell, Rovio, or Remedy Entertainment. And yes, we have this gaming hub with almost 4,000 professionals, and most of them are from abroad. And at the moment, how would I say, we also have people, I think we have around 40 different nationalities at Metacore. So it's a very, very diverse company in terms of nationalities as well. And yeah, we are hiring people, relocating people to Finland from all over the world. And also I must say that the relocation process has been quite smooth for many our employees, and we as a company are supporting like financially the process quite a lot. So whether you're traveling or relocating alone or with your family, we always want to make sure that the process is smooth, and because it's a really, really big decision to move to a completely new country. So that's why we as a company feel responsible, and we want to make sure that it's worth making that kind of decision and everything goes well, both of you and your possible family. Great. Yeah, so just a quick reminder that the company is young. In 2020, it looked like this, but at the moment, the team is huge. This photo was taken in August 23, so a lot of almost 100 people have joined since that. We had our company offsite in Sweden. We unplugged for 3 days, no laptops. We just spent 3 amazing days in Swedish archipelago together. And I think that tells a lot about our culture, that it was a big investment from the whole company, that we kind of stopped the business for a couple of days just to make sure that we could all spend some time together and get to know each other better, because there are so many new faces in the company. Our culture is the essential driver for our growth. So none of this growth would have been possible without our culture. So that's why we are taking such a good care of our culture. And yes, the culture consists of successful teams, and here are a couple of examples that we do, like how do we take care of our teams. For example, we have explicitly defined culture agreement at Metacore. It's a couple of pages long, defining like what our culture means and what do we expect from our people. So everyone who joins Metacore signs this culture agreement, and this way we make sure that we hire right kind of people to the company. Like I said, the mission statement, it has to be inspirational for both for our people inside the company, but also for our potential candidates who apply to the company. Our employer brand should also reflect our culture. We are constantly investing on our recruiting and talent acquisition team, making sure that our hiring processes are inclusive and we can kind of find the top talent. We track and develop our employee experience a lot. Our people team at the moment is 9 people, which is, I've never seen a people team that size before, and that tells a lot about how, for example, our CEO sees the culture that we should we want to invest in our people team so much, because the people team is taking care of our employees. We are focusing on the onboarding a lot. It's a very intensive process, but we have received a lot of good feedback about that. And like I said, it's a balance of high performance and high well-being, and we train our leaders and offer them support a lot. We have a huge leadership program here because we believe that all our employees deserve high quality leadership and leadership support. Great. So at the moment we have 20 plus open positions on our website. So if you feel that something I mentioned here in the presentation is interesting to you, I would highly recommend checking those open positions. But also we have this open application form there. So if you feel that there's maybe not something relevant to you at the moment open, you can also leave an open application. So it's really good for us that we kind of get your information so we can get back to you if something opens later. So having that kind of talent pool, it's a win-win situation. And after this presentation in the Discord channel, we will have our amazing talent acquisition partner, Sophia, answering all your questions. So if you feel that I missed something or you have some questions, she's happy to answer those there on the Discord channel. Yes, that's all from my side, a little bit about us. But like I mentioned, it would be really nice to hear your questions and what is interesting to you. And yep, we are hiring a lot. So just let us know if you have any questions about our hiring process or our company culture. We're happy to answer those. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Hannah, for the excellent presentation. A lot of people were watching us. There's a lot of questions. I'm reminding everyone that we have the Q&A going on Discord. But Hannah, you mentioned this, and I think that it always interests people. What is your typical recruitment process? And from where do you hire? Do you have any limitations? I know that you're a global company, but it seems that these questions keep repeating. So it would be great if you say a few words about that.
Yes, really good questions. We don't have any limitations. So we are hiring from all over the world, which I think is very, very exciting. And our typical hiring process starts with our talent acquisition partner. So they take the first call with the candidate they asking some basic questions, and then if we continue from there, there's usually a bigger interview with the official interview with the talent acquisition partner, and then several interviews with the supervisor or team members. So we also feel that it's important that the candidates get to meet both the supervisor but also the potential team members, so that they also know like who would be their future colleagues, so to say. And as the last stage of the interview, we also have an interview with our CEO, which I think is very, very cool that he's meeting every new candidate that is joining the company. It's a lot of work with these hiring phases, but yeah, so I would say 4 to 5 discussions during the process, something like that. No, I can't hear you, Oleg. Are you muted?
How about some tests? Do you do like technical tests or coding tests or things like that?
Yes.
How does that work?
In some roles, yes, it depends on the role. Sometimes it's a case assignment or sometimes a technical test, but it's really depends on the role. But we have also received a good feedback from our hiring process that it's not too consuming for the candidate. So we usually try to make sure that if there is some kind of test, it shouldn't require too much work from the candidate.
Yes, great. And you're hiring to both locations, right? So
yes, we are hiring both to Helsinki and to Berlin. And maybe I forgot to mention that in both in Helsinki and Berlin, we have a hybrid working culture, which means that we expect people to come to the office every now and then. So we don't have fully remote roles at this point. It's been really, really important to us culture-wise that people also spend time at the office.
fantastic. Thank you very much, Hanna. So I see there's questions going on Discord. So thank you very much for being with us here today. Fantastic talk. And yeah, please connect on Discord. The link is in the chat. So everyone who wants to join, I see that Sophia and Paulina is there in the chat answering the questions. So once again, thank you very much, Hanna.
Thank you so much.
We continue with the program.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi, everyone. I just quick note that, again, I'm talking about the Discord. Now is the time when we have the studios ready to answer your questions. So if you're just joining, check out the Discord link there. My colleague is posting on the chat, or Google or search us on Discord for Google Games Factory Talents. There's the chats for each of the studio, plus all the jobs that are listed in there. So it's there on Discord. Please join it. And we'll be back soon with the next speaker. Hi, Moritz. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Oleg. Nice to meet you
Fantastic to
again.
have you here. So, hi, everyone. Please welcome our next speaker, Moritz. Thanks for being here with us. Well, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Oleg. Right. My name is Moritz. I'm a community manager at FunPlus. I think you saw the introduction. Thank you very much for attending. I will talk about feedback loops today, since it's a pretty big part of my job, and I will just jump right into it. So I'm going to give a very, very brief introduction, the briefest of introductions. Then I will talk about community feedback, what it is, why it's important, and where we get it. I will talk about something I call professionalizing feedback. Don't worry about that word. I will explain later in detail. And then I will also mention a few of the key challenges in order to have a nice Q&A session to talk about the job a bit more. So just for a brief introduction, what a CM does depends on the interpretation of the role, the size of the team, and the size of the company as well. And I won't go into all details about it today, but if you're interested in it, I would highly suggest that you check out the talk from my colleague Lise from last year, from this very job fair. And there, as the title implies, you can learn everything you ever wanted to know about community management. A great talk, and if you're interested in becoming a CM, you should check that out. But for today, I want to talk about community feedback. Now, why did I pick this? First of all, as I said, it's a pretty big part of a CM's job in a gaming company. And also because I feel like we all have sort of a basic idea about what feedback is. But there's actually a lot more when you look at it from the inside. And I want to explain a bit on that. So first of all, when you put a live project out there, a game in our case, it's quite natural that players will get back to you and tell you what they like and most prominently what they don't like, right? The nature of feedback, it's normally that it's, I don't want to say negative, but it's focused on improving the game and the product, which is actually what we want to do. So that's why we highly value it. Now, why is it important? Not only because you're always aiming to make your game better, right? I think that's quite straightforward, but also because it can have a real impact on the success of your product. I think we saw a great, great example of that last year in Baldur's Gate. They took their time really to have an open beta version, 3 years, and they implemented a lot of community feedback. Something, for example, that was a prime example was that people asked a lot about character diversity and representation. They put a lot of like very good feedback into this, and the news spread by themselves, right? They didn't even have to publish anymore. People start writing articles, people start filming themselves playing because they're so happy being part of the development cycle and that their feedback is implemented, and they really become ambassadors of your game. And there's a ton of articles out there that you can read about this, the power of player feedback, that will explain what the power is from behind. So this is when you look at it from the outside, right? From a player perspective. But when you switch the perspective and you get to the inside of a company, it's also super valuable because a lot of game insight is gathered by game data, right? And our colleagues from data science, they're doing a great job, an amazing job. You can measure almost everything nowadays, and community feedback could never even reach that scale, right? However, when you only have numbers, you have a ton of quantitative feedback, but you don't really have any quality feedback, right? So you can build hypotheses, you connect player data to behavior, to cause and effect, but it can lead to misassumptions and blind spots sometimes. And community feedback can put a magnifying glass on it, which is why I picked this icon with the fancy magnifying glass next to the graphs. So let's say you already have some data, you have some numbers, you have user behavior, but you're not exactly sure about if your cause and effect relation is right. This is where community feedback can really get you a comprehensive answer on what is happening, right? And I think in the end, the two of them should complement each other, as the shaking hands emoji brilliantly implies. And best case, your data scientists and your community team even brief each other on user numbers and quality feedback, and you will have a perfect view, a perfect overview over your your player base and insights into what your players like and don't like. How do you find community feedback? There's obviously a bunch of different channels out there, and I just listed the ones that we use a lot. There are more out there, and I will also get to that in a minute. But for us, I chose Discord first, honestly, just because it's my favorite, but it's also a super good platform, especially for early stages of a game. So when you have a new game and you have a group of core players, this is where you're going to find them. 10 out of 10. They're going to be on Discord. They're committed to the game. They will use their personal account to get on your game's Discord server. They will leave quality feedback, and they will also ask you a bunch of gameplay questions, and you have to annoy your developers to provide answers. And also there's like features on Discord that will help you a lot. Like, let's say you find a good piece of feedback, you tell your dev team about it, and then they ask you, okay, that's cool, but is this actually just a single player's opinion, or is it a general sentiment? And you get back on the server and you let people give an upvote or downvote, right? Or you start a poll or something. And you have a way of quantifying quality feedback, which is great. It's a big part of our job, really. Then you have more like mainstream social media. It's a bit different in its dynamics because people are a bit less committed normally. They might see one of your posts where they're scrolling through their feed, right? They give you spontaneous feedback. It's more fragmented, and you have to sort of put in a bit more work to transform it into something complete and constructive that you put on a feedback report. And oftentimes it's also because you're specifically asking, what are your thoughts? And then you get a comment and a piece of feedback. And it's a bit more difficult to establish a two-way conversation because it might vanish in a bunch of comments and these things. Now, YouTube videos can be something special if they are in sort of a review or a video essay from an active player, a well-respected player, maybe even an opinion leader, then you can really get a lot of insights from these about your community. There's the game chat, of course. As a CM, you play the game. It's part of our job. And part of playing is also to observe the chat, because there you get spontaneous reactions about the game. You can even check if the target audience that your colleagues told you about is actually present on there, which is very interesting. But also you gain insights from players that are playing a lot, but they might not be following your social media channels, or they might not be members of your Discord. So you just let the chat go on organically. You just observe. The only thing that's a bit tedious is that you have to screenshot everything yourself and type it out, because you can't get in there and say, hey, by the way, I'm a community manager for the company. Can I use your feedback? And please don't tell anyone and burn my base, you know? So that's another good channel. And then there's your colleagues. Not technically considered community feedback, but these are industry professionals, right? So when you get a new APK to test it, or you have an open beta or something, I would highly recommend to send it out to your colleagues and get different opinions from people in marketing or artist team or something. You will quickly get to know the strengths and weaknesses of your game, right? And you have a super good overview. Just remember, this is submitted separately because we want organic player feedback to be organic player feedback. And here it's already goals and OKRs and everything involved. And then there's surveys. Surveys are a super good method to combine quality and quantity feedback. So you have some open questions and you have some checkbox or multiple choice questions. And then in the end, you have answers for specific questions. You're in control. You ask what you want to know. And you can present some shiny graphs, but also some fluent text to back that up. And yeah, that's the best part of feedback, really. There's also UX interviews. Now, community managers don't always do these, and we're not UX specialists by trade. There's also teams for UX, but we sometimes dip into that. I actually did one yesterday. It was very interesting. And this is cool because you take time, right? You take an hour or even an hour and a half for an interview, and you have the opportunity to pick someone by hand to represent a certain peer group and gain insights. So super cool, really. Of course, there are other channels, depending on what game you're doing, what platforms you're using, the devices you support. And it's also part of our job to know these platforms, to inform yourself how they work, their functionality, and what sort of audience you can find there. Okay, now I want to get to something I called professionalizing feedback. I don't know if I invented that word. I hope not. However, there are a few steps between picking up a raw piece of feedback and actually reporting it to your development or your game team. It might seem straightforward that you just take it and send it over, but I want to explain in a bit of detail why it's not. So I picked an example material, and don't be afraid if you don't understand anything in the first moment, okay? That's how it's meant to be. I got this from a player on Discord once, right? The quote is, "What were the devs thinking about when they placed the settlements beyond the blockade? They're all level 3s from the blockade to the military center in the Forbidden Zone. We're only allowed to take 3 at a time max." Now, if you're sitting there and you don't know the game, you might be thinking, okay, I have no idea what's going on here, right? And you're not sure if you want to send this over right away. First of all, it says, what were the devs thinking about? These people are working hard, right? I don't want to send them something that says, what were you thinking about? But also, you don't know if the player is right or not. And maybe they're not. You send it over, the developer gets back to you and says, hey, I just spent 20 minutes checking this, and it's not even the case, right? So you need to apply a bit of magic here to transform this into a piece of constructive feedback that someone can work with. For that, you need product knowledge. You need to understand different types of players. You need an ability to sort of translate feedback, and you need to be able to effectively filter the priority. I will explain one by one. So product knowledge, right? Get the confusion done. So what is a settlement in this case? What is a blockade? What is level 3, military center, Forbidden Zone? Who are we? And why are we only allowed to take 3 level 3 settlements at a time? And when you play and you gather product knowledge and you engage with the community, you find out a few things, right? Imagine a strategy game, a big map, pretty much like a board game. And territory levels are getting higher and higher, accumulating towards the center. And the group, the clan, the alliance that occupies the center wins the game in the end. Now, on the way to get there, you need to occupy patches of territory, get through the different zones, and there are blockades that separate the zones. To get from one zone to the next, you need a patch of territory that's next to the blockade, and you can only have a limited amount of territory from a certain level at a time. In this case, that means if you want to progress towards the center and win the game, but you have to give up patches of territory to acquire new ones, you might have to leave people behind who didn't go through the blockade in time. And that is super tedious because you want to win the game together, right? And only if you understood all this, you can start working with a piece of feedback. The next thing would be to understand what type of player are we dealing with. This is definitely a committed player, right? But they're also not speaking only for themselves. They're speaking for their whole group. They want to progress with their team. What is the sentiment? They feel frustrated. They're trying their best, but the game is literally stopping them from doing it. And what part of the player experience does the feedback refer to? In this case, it's, progressing, but it's also the social aspect. And then when you have figured these things out, the sentiment, the root problem, maybe even thought of a solution, how do you formulate this so that anyone in a potentially large team can understand it, even if they're involved in some completely different part of the game? And finally, how do you prioritize this? Does it affect only single players, or does it affect all of them? In this case, it affects all of them. Is it a vital part of the game that's affected? Yeah, because it's the game's progression. Is it possibly even breaking the mechanics? I wouldn't say breaking, but it's definitely messing with them. And then when you have all this in mind, you will end up at something like this. You have an observation. Alliances have to conquer patches of territory between the blockade and the military center, and they're having trouble advancing. They can only occupy 3 level 3 at a time, and then they have to give one up, and you can't take everyone with you. The consequences, players get frustrated. They have to give up territories, they have to occupy new ones. Those who don't proceed beyond the blockade in time have no way of reaching new territory, and the gameplay gets super tedious like that. Maybe raise the number of settlements available, for example, to 5. Our devs read that, they implemented an alliance mission, players were able to unlock new patches of territory, everyone was happy, and then you communicate that back to the player base, then you pick up their reactions, positive reactions in this case, send these back to the developers, and that's the feedback loop that I was talking about in in the beginning, right? So that's really the essence of a community manager's job, to build the bridge between players and developers. Now, to end this, I want to mention some of the major challenges, just so we can go into Q&A and you know a bit more about the job. So one thing for sure is communication. You have to get super efficient at it, because in a small team, you might have the luxury of sitting right next to your developers. Great. Short communication cycle, perfect. The bigger the team, there might be a PM or a representative in between, or even two. You know, you have a representative and then the other team has one, and that's the way you communicate back and forth. So you need to develop very efficient communication skills. The same goes for discussion. As a CM, you're technically the player's advocate, right? You're the player's voice within a game team, and you're fighting for the players, while at the same time you're part of the game team and you want to achieve a common goal. So sometimes you have to get into discussions, professional ones, with various stakeholders inside the company. There's perception challenges. Sometimes players are just very loud about a problem that might not be that severe, while a lot of smaller groups are way more subtle about it and constructive about it. And you have to learn as a community manager that noise does not always mean numbers. And there's also filtering challenges. This slide is messy by choice, yeah. So sometimes you get hundreds of messages within a single day, and you have pings everywhere, right? Your Discord inbox is overflowing. So you also have to learn to filter out effectively what is important and what is not, and what you put in your report. I want to end here, just for time's sake, so we can go on and jump into the Q&A. And I will also answer everything I can on Discord. And I want to thank you all very much for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Moritz. I have a question, just like a personal one. How did you end up working with the community? Everyone is talking about it, and of course, but just on the personal note, what's your story? How did you kind of came here?
Right. So I worked in digital marketing and social media marketing and community management for a bit in Germany. I'm from Germany. Then I moved to Barcelona to my girlfriend, and I was looking for a new job, and FunPlus was looking for a community manager, partly also for the German market. So a native level German speaker who has a passion for games, who has some experience in community management. And there I was, right place, right time.
Do you enjoy it more, like the social media marketing or the community management?
Community, I would say. It's more direct. It's engaging directly with players. That's what I really like, right? I think all of us gamers, we're a bit nerdy in that sense, and we like to interact with like-minded individuals. The social media part is also cool, but the community is my favorite. Yeah.
Cool, fantastic. Hey, I'm reminding everyone that you can post the questions from Moritz on Discord. Let's get some questions out. We still have a few minutes, so let me just, Moritz, check briefly. Yeah, you'll check. Oh my God, I mean, the chats are going a little bit. Yeah, we have so many people, so it's a little bit with everything. But if you have, Moritz, some time, can you please join us there on Discord? And
sure.
I'm reminding everyone to shoot the questions on Discord to continue, because I think on the chat we have we have a lot of people in there. I see a lot of people appreciate the talk. But for sure, if you can stay there with us a little bit on Discord, as we discussed, that would be fantastic.
I'll jump over there. Thank you very much, Oleg.
Oh, thank you very much, Moritz. Thank you. Hi, Ali. Please
Hello.
welcome our next speaker, Ali. Before we get started, I just wanted to ask you to share the presentation.
Sure, let's do this. Share screen. And now hopefully it's working.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah.
Now it's there. Ali, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're having a good time and not too tired for a technical discussion, but I promise you, my talks is usually full of memes and fun stuff, so stay tuned. So in today's talk, I'm going to be speaking about yesterday's debt. When I say debt here, I don't mean the debt that we do at the bank. Hopefully I could help you with this. I need help myself. So when I say debt here, I mean more in technology. Technical debt is basically when we cut corners, to try to be faster to market, or basically bad decisions we have made in the past, and now it's hunting us again. Disclaimer here, technical debt doesn't really need to be connected to old technology. We can also have a technical debt with the latest cutting edge technology, because like I said, it just could be for cutting corners. So I'm going to tell you a quick story. In 2010, Star Stable, the company I work for, and the name of our game, Star Stable, used to be a single player game. I don't know the real story, but I imagine something like this. So I imagine OGs from my company, Star Stable, went to the city town, went to coffee shop, and took some coffee. And suddenly, they came up with this crazy idea. And that's something you should never try if you're listening to this. It's where Star Stable decided to go from, or actually make the same game, the single player game, multiplayer game. And that's, in my opinion, a big decision. You cannot transfer the game itself. You need to build a different mode or build an entire new game with an online element. In our case, we did it. We just the single player game, we made it multiplayer game. And that was the birth of Star Stable Online. So I'm grateful they did this, but we're still haunted by that decision since then, because adding online factor element to a single player game, it's not an easy, it's not like a small action. So at Star Stable, we have our own engine, our own editor, our own server architect, even our own scripting language. But why on earth a small company like ours having our own scripting language? Actually, I have no answer for this. It's just cool, I guess. So at some point, we decided to make everything in-house, including our scripting language. Instead of using established ones like Python or Rust or whatever, we made our own. Star Stable is available on Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android, and it is cross-platform. So our game is available on all these platforms, and you can play from any device together. The target audience for our game, Star Stable, is an MMO horse game for young girls. So the target audience is 8 years plus. So as you can see, I really need to change this slide. It's not a Ponzi scheme, what you see to the right. What I mean here, that the players don't have their own devices. It's basically take or inherited devices from their parents, which means super old PCs and mobile phones or iPads as well. And there's a name in our as a video game players, or like in community of video games, that we have a name for these old ancient devices. We all have that friend you always want to play with, but they have a super old device. They cannot run the game that you're playing, you and the group. And the name for that device, write in the comments if you can guess the name of it. The name is a potato. Yeah, I'm pretty sure some of you already guessed it. So, so our game, in-house technology, cross-platform, multi-platform, needs to run on a potato. So as you can see, it is challenging already, but that's not everything. At Star Stable, it seems like we like to challenge ourselves and push the limit, which is actually cool. Beside all this complexity from the cross-platform, multi-platform, in-house technology, even scripting language, and it needs to run and perform on a super old devices, a potato, we release weekly. Yes, we release every single week. We have been doing that since last 12 years. We never missed a week. Every Wednesday, we release a new content to our players. So just imagine the constraints we have with all technology and aggressive release schedule. So how our game looks like from a player perspective versus us in production, it's like this. So it's a lot to handle. It's an old technology, aggressive releases, and a lot of things we need to have in mind. But our games looks really cool and pinky from outside, which is nice. Hey everyone, my name is Ali. I am a senior producer at Star Stable Entertainment. I have 4 teams, mainly in technology, around 30 to 40 people in my teams. So, in today's talk, I'm going to be sharing a practical roadmap how you can battle technical debt. And that's something why I'm passionate about this topic, because each studio suffering from this, despite how old and new they are. And every studio you're going to be working with, they will also have the same issue. Even though if you start your own studio, at some point you will have this issue. There's no, like, it's really hard to avoid it. The best way is to acknowledge it and try to solve it. In today's talk, I'm going to be giving you a few steps how you can battle technical debt if it's ongoing, and some of steps to actually try to prevent if it's you just started. First action, it sounds super simple. It's actually one of the hardest. Don't be afraid to say no to technical debt. You cannot battle technical debt if you're adding technical debt. So the first step is basically saying no more technical debt from now on. You and everyone needs to be onboarded with this. And trust me, this is the hardest step among all of them. Because it's not simply saying, oh yeah, we're not going to add any technical debt, and the very first feature you do a technical debt. Then you're not actually, there's no way you're going to solve your technical debt issue, because you're going to keep always adding, it's going to keep increasing in complexity, and like you're going to be suffering from this growing technical debt. So everyone needs to be onboarded. Yes, from now on, no more technical debt. We all onboarded with this. But let's be realistic here. I work for a company, and sometimes we need to meet some deadlines. Same goes to everyone listening. And if you're not in the gaming industry yet, hopefully you will be soon. And you will see that at some point you have some deadlines on Steam or on social media or a DLC, whatever you need to release. And it happens. I'm not saying don't release and delay. Sometimes it could be even not feasible. What we start to do, we try our best to avoid technical debt. But if we see that there's no other way by releasing, because whatever time frames we cannot control, we go with the solution that we're not 100% happy with. The first action point on the same team who delivered the feature is fixing the whatever solution that when, like, if it's causing some technical debt, we cause some refactoring, or it's not well tested, so we add more testing to it. So the first action you do after releasing something is not aligned with your vision of not having technical debt needs to be having that piece of code or feature, whatever, fixed immediately after. So that's how we are in the last few years. I'm so proud. I don't believe we added at least like a major ones. Technical debt will always be added organically due to small factors here and there, but we haven't added any major technical debt since we decided not to add any technical debt. Second one, to battle technical debt, you need to understand the situation. You need to sit down and try to map out and see the limitations and dependencies, which requires time, and huge effort, because it couldn't be done with one team if the company is mid-sized to big one. It requires multiple crafts to be involved, from gameplay, engine, tools, everyone involved. So everyone needs to sit down and start to map out the technical debt that we have. What I try to do here, try to connect the technical debt that we have and dependency with business value. Because there's no way on earth any directors or executives will come to you and say, you know what, you can spend the next year refactoring the render or refactoring the whatever inventory system you have. This will never happen. You need to show them, by fixing this piece of code, this will enable us to do this feature, which tied to this business revenue or whatever. This is the only way to show, or like you need to vouch why we need to give you half year to year, sometimes it takes, to fix something. So I would say this is a very good step to map out the technical dependency and connect it with the business value. When you do that, it will be so clear to you what to do next, because you will see that A will enable B, B will do C, C is connected to that business value. Sometimes it's that complicated. When you do the mapping, it will be clear to you which one is more valuable and will have the higher impact. And you start with that one first. The third one, when technical debt is present in any studio, if you have your own technology or you're just using commercial engine and you did build a lot of plugins and tools around it, but it's quite old, the users will start to assume a lot of things isn't possible. So we end up having more constraints to already not a perfect situation, because the user will assume, yeah, of course you cannot do this. So they don't even try, and they end up not even knowing what they are capable of doing. Even though the situation is not optimal, there's a lot of things they assume it isn't even possible. So spending time with your user to explain, you know that you can do this, right? Sit down with them and see how they work, and ask them why you do it this way, but you can do this shortcut instead. So try to show them what is even possible. Because if you don't do that, the following will happen. You know what scares me more than the tax agency in Sweden? Is a happy user coming with a request. Because if a user is frustrated, they just come to you and say, hey, the editor is not working, or the exporter is crashing. They're frustrated, they are kind of mad, they need to just be done with their work. You fix it for them, everyone is happy. But as a producer, I start to see a pattern. When users coming to you smiling with a request, that means they have spent at least a full weekend walking in the woods, thinking about something super crazy. Like, can we move to Unreal or Unity instead? It happened with me. People asking me, can we just move to one of the commercial engines? It's 12 years of code and content in-house. Despite the business impact, because of course you need to share revenue with the commercial engines, technically it's super expensive, and sometimes making it just doesn't make any sense. So try to invest time educating your users and make them to be to your side, supporting the the evolvement of your in-house technology, or whatever plugins you do with the commercial engines. Sometimes spending time on fixing technical debt isn't realistic, because the team could be super small, the economy didn't really you don't have enough people in your teams, or the economy is not good to be spent on refactoring, even though I believe if you don't do that, it would be more expensive. But maybe you are in some funding phase and you need to go out with something ASAP. I have one of the teams that we cannot really spend half of the team or few members doing technical debt full time. So we did something super clever, and I really want you to think about it and implement it in your teams. In Jira, we have created a new ticket type called technical debt. Okay, so it's a ticket type with a different icon. It's called technical debt ticket. So every ticket we believe, or every task we believe it's classified as a technical debt, we create it with that type. Perfect. Then we decided every planning we do every second week, we need to include at least one, only one technical debt ticket per planning or per sprint, 2 weeks. By doing that in the last years, we managed to solve one of the most complicated technical debt we had touching that team by doing one ticket every sprint. As simple as that. So if you cannot spend time working on technical debt, like I said, just try to do it one ticket every sprint. Every time you get a chance to improve a piece of code while adding a new feature or touching a code base due to a bug, and you can spend a couple of days make that code looks better, take that chance every time, because also this is a good way to incrementally battle technical debt without spending full time focusing on it. Sadly, technical debt is not one-to-one relationship. That means 1 year technical debt doesn't mean at all that could be solved by focusing on it for a year. That's not the case. Sometimes it requires a lot more time. Why is that? Every time we add a technical debt to our code base, and there's a lot of dependency and things are getting more complex, is sometimes exponential. So fixing technical debt will become more complicated and super hard to understand what is affecting what. Plus, in a lot of cases, you won't have that knowledge in-house still, because whoever wrote that piece of code basically left the company, and there's usually no documentation. When you say documentation in the gaming industry, it's just kind of it's fun. So at some point you need to figure it out that it's actually not possible to. It's a long term. It's a sprint, so you need to be super. Actually, sorry, it's a marathon. So it's actually long run. So you need to be super patient, and you need to understand it will take time. Second one, we lean usually to do what kind of feels and is safe. So I highly recommend to push the limit, to leave your comfort zone and do big changes. Otherwise, you will always do the safe changes, which is okay at the start, but at some point it won't bring any value. You would do like safe changes because you don't want to affect the production or live or whatever. But at some point, this won't be enough. You need to go and change something, even though knowing that this will affect players, this will be a headache. We have done it. For years, we have been so careful and cautious not to do any big changes. But then we decided, you know what, let's do it. So now we're doing 3 big changes at once. How that happened? By doing one successful big change. You always have that talent in-house. When you have the decision that we're going to do it, you're able to do it. So my tip for you, you know exactly what to start with usually. So don't be afraid, just go and do it. Quality assurance. At Star Stable, we used to have only 2 levels of testing. When you do a lot of technical debt, you need to increase the level of testing so you are more comfortable of doing major changes. So we went from internal testing and unit testing to here. So you try to increase the level of testing, the levels of testing we have at Star Stable, so we are more comfortable, do major changes and do even more braver technical debt focus by having more testing levels, so we are more comfortable. Documentation. It's really hard to recover or retrieve old document, or try to document old code. It takes time. We need to go to the code, read it, understand it. Someone will try to document it. I haven't seen it work really well usually, but what we can do, we can start documenting from now and moving forward, which is a great idea. How you document, it's really up to you. It could be in code, could be in documentation. We didn't manage to enforce documentation culture easily. So what we implemented, and it's worked really well, is at the KPI. Every time we deliver a feature, the documentation for that feature needs to be delivered in 2 weeks. And by doing that, we manage to always make sure that documentations are in place. If not, these KPIs I present to directors and executives every month. So there's no way for us to. Is it?
Ali,
Yeah.
we have 1 minute to wrap
1
up.
minute. Perfect. Awesome. 1 minute. Wow. This talk was longer than I expected. And in the second half of this, I just speak about how you balance creativity and production. But I guess the first half hopefully gave you enough tools to battle technical depth in a systematic way. The second half, hopefully, we can cover in another talk. So yeah, I was kind of on time. Not bad.
Thank you very much, Ali. I'm reminding everyone that please put your questions on Discord. Ali, if you can also jump on Discord as per our agreement. Thank you so much for being with us. And yeah, we'll see soon. We'll do that event as you suggested very, very soon.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
And we continue with the program. Dimitris, fantastic to have you here.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. So this will be an influencer marketing intro on how we can power success and growth using influencer marketing in the gaming industry. A few words about me. My name is Dimitris Mavromatis. I'm a growth marketing manager here at FunPlus. I've been doing influencer marketing for a few gaming companies like Social Point, Tilting Point, and I worked at Epidemic Sound as well. So for over about 7 years, I have been specializing in influencer marketing and digital marketing within the gaming and the tech industry. My professional goal is to leverage performance-driven, cost-effective digital marketing strategies in order to increase our game's reach, both in mobile and PC. In my leisure time, I enjoy the beautiful Barcelona and reading fantasy books. So let's dive in the marketing. Influencer marketing, it's a combination between brand awareness and performance. As I said, is a form of growth marketing that enables games to reach new audiences and collaborate with influencers with a significant reach and engaged audience in social media channels. Here are some of the social media channels that we can activate with influencer marketing, like YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, podcast, Twitter, and Discord. In this presentation, we will talk primarily for the YouTube, since it's one of the key social media channels that we can run influencer marketing campaigns. What can we achieve with influencer marketing? There are 3 things we can target when running influencer marketing campaigns. First of all, we can diversify the marketing mix. We can increase the monthly investment by adding influencer marketing as part of the strategy. We can support the UA efforts. We can target key geos and also unlock new markets. Meanwhile, we support the game's growth. We bring high-quality users to the game. We promote specific events and new releases. We increase the engagement within the game, but also we bring organic traffic to the App Store. Parallel, we're working on increasing the game's branding. So we generate awareness around the game. We increase the credibility of the game with the endorsement we receive from the influencers. And we also introduce the game and the main mechanics to new audiences. So here are the 4 steps to a successful influencer marketing strategy. First of all, we need to understand the game, which we call game mapping. This is the part where we need to choose which game from our portfolio we will run an influencer campaign with, and we need to adapt the strategy accordingly. So we'll look into LTV, growth elements, and general how the game is performing. We need to understand then the target audience and the target persona, understand the game mechanic, and present it and be able to present it on a campaign brief. The next step is the influencer mix, where we practically need to select which social media channels we run the campaigns at, and also select the type of influencers we'll be activating. At this is a good point to start thinking about the budget and what we're willing to invest based on the existing KPIs. Later on, we have to think about the performance. So we have to take into consideration both the tracked performance and also the organic uplift. but also the splash effect that we see in other aspects of the game, like ASO, UA, and community. But we also have some challenges. So we have to understand that influencer marketing is a completely different channel, and it's not UA. The nature of influencer industry is very unique. We're talking about humans and not machines. So we expect these partnerships to be sometimes unpredictable, and the performance can be inconsistent. So once we know all this, here is a timeline that I would, for example, if I take the April as the first date, we will pitch the campaign internally, and we'll select the game and secure the budget within the team. Once we finalize this, we'll have to brief the agencies. We work with influencer agencies. I will talk a little bit more about it later. And we'll start receiving influencer profiles from them and start analyzing them. Once we review the influencers and negotiated the fees, we will provide the campaign brief and other details for the campaign, and we will go live. After the campaign will be completely live, and we'll wait a little bit of time to collect the data, we are ready for the campaign analysis. So at this stage, we need to start connecting with the influencer agencies and select a good and reliable partner. The influencer agency is an extension of the in-house team, so investing a little bit of time and benchmarking and testing new partners, I think, is very essential for a successful influencer campaign. When we receive the talents, we will be reviewing and negotiating the influencer fees. To the left, you can see the Tubular Labs profile of a talent. On the very top, we can see the engagement rate. We can see the countries that they are focusing on. We can see the audience demographic split and the geos. When we receive all this data, we'll be also receiving the fees of the talents. There are two types of deals we can secure. One is non-performance based, where we practically give a flat fee to the talent for securing an integration, or we pay per view, which is the CPM deal. Ideally, we want to secure a CPM deal, but a lot of talents that don't agree on running CPM deals because they prefer to secure an upfront fee and be safe with the integration and the total income they'll be receiving at the end of the integration. Here we'll talk about the King of Avalon example. So we run a campaign for the King of Avalon, one of our main games. And we outline the main campaign deliverables. Those are the key takeaways we have to be providing to the agency and the influencers in order to secure a good integration. In this case, we have the publishing period, where we practically try to group all the influencers together. We have the integration, which is about 60 to 7 main integration, and a 10-second outro. We prefer that the placement will be on the very beginning of the video. So we agree to be about on the 10% of the video when we're talking about YouTube integration. We also have to agree on the placement of the link. So we agree on the description and also comment section, where practically the influencer would be exposing the tracking link to their audience. And we also have the QR code, where we would ideally want to have it displayed throughout the whole integration. And the main message, of course, where we practically motivate the influencer to have a clear call to action for their followers to follow. Here is the campaign brief and how are the talking points. It's pretty much heavy text, but I wanted just to show you how I'll be working around the campaign brief. So practically, we'll be introducing the game in the very beginning, and I'll be having a clear call to action, followed by an asset I will be providing to the talent. I will create a little asset library, which will be linking with every talking point. And once I do the first introduction to the game, I will move to the game mechanics. So understanding, as I said, the game before, and what exactly is the mechanic and key elements that the users are doing within the game, then this is crucial, and you can display it in this part of the campaign brief. So once we share all these with the influencer and the agency, we'll start receiving the videos. And once they're approved, they're going live with the campaign. The influencer will be following, hopefully, all our recommendations. So as you can see to the right, we have requested from the influencer to post the QR code. So we can see to the top right, there is an integration that is happening already in the first minute of the YouTube video. And it's already on the 10% as we agreed. The placement of the link is on the very top of the description. And also he has added the tracking link on the description and has pinned it on the top of his comments. So we attract more exposure on everything that could be tracked from this campaign. Tracking it is very essential for us because then we can prove our worth to the whole gaming team. In this case, this is how and why we want to analyze the campaign in the best way possible. We have to understand the full impact of the campaign. So we have to combine the tracked and untracked installs, the organic installs that we sadly cannot see when we run an influencer campaign. The country focus analysis, so each campaign will focusing on a specific geo. In this case, we can see either US or Tier 1, France or Germany. When we run specific campaigns in geos like France or Germany, then we're focusing on the geos that they speak French or German. French we can consider especially, for example, Canada as well. Now we have to compare the performance of the organic before and during the campaign. So we have to check for a control week. As you can see to the right, we check how is the performance of the organics. And once we run the campaign, you see with the little square, this is when the campaign spiked and the organics are uplifted. So we should take into consideration this part when we consider the total performance of the campaign, along with the track data, obviously. And similar below, we can see several countries being impacted by our campaign, and we see what was the baseline before and how the spike during the campaign on organics has lifted up the baseline. Historically, we see about 20 to 60% of influencer installs coming from attributed to organics. So from the total performance of the campaign, about 20 to 60% is coming from this uplift method. Here are some data we're looking at. For example, we can look at tracked installs and revenue, which is really important when we look into ROI. Estimated organic uplift installs and revenue, as we discussed previously. We can check as well the PC installs and revenue, tracked and organic, the average CPM and CPI, ROI, LTV, and retention. And we're coming closer to the end. So here are some of the key learnings. We have to understand the game and the game audience and the key metrics of the game in order to develop the most fitting influencer campaign. As I said, a good partner can contribute to the success of the team. So we need to work and find the right influencers and secure a competitive fee. When you work with a great partner, they will be helping you throughout this process. Create a good campaign brief that is easy to understand and follow. Influencers are like external partners. The best they are briefed, the better will perform, and they will create something closer to what you want to do and what you want to achieve in the first place. Make sure that all influencers are going live during the agreed dates and that you are properly tracking the campaign through our tracking system. So we can imagine that, for example, if we have a broken link, we won't get any track data, which happened in the past. So we have to always check that everything is tracked and everything is in place when we run a campaign. So hopefully, with all these key learnings, you'll be able to run a perfect influencer marketing campaign. And that will be all. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you very much, Dimitris. We're a little bit before the timeline what we had, but I just want to remind everyone that you can connect with Dimitris and the FunPlus team on Discord for the Q&A. But let's see. Maybe actually, like the question from me. Have you had any interesting stories to share, like not working with the influencers, and maybe because it's a different kind of marketing? I don't know if it does apply to the other industries. It's been something that popped up so much in the games industry, but maybe some interesting stories or to share some fun plus.
Well,
yeah, fun
as I said, exactly. No, as I said, influencers are humans, and whatever you can imagine, it can happen to a human, right? So I had an influencer saying, "I'm moving out. I cannot post this weekend." So it will be like simple things like that you won't think as a marketing person because you have a team relying on you and a huge investment behind this campaign. It could be that it's a 100K campaign and the person will be delayed because they were moving out, or they might have a wedding or something like that, but they haven't thought when agreeing on the campaign. So it's a little bit like talking to a friend and they just cancel you out because they had something better to do last minute. It's the same approach. So having a good partner like an influencer agency that they can replace them soon after, I think is a great value, and that's what I'm looking for when I'm partnering up with influencer agencies.
Maybe another question is that how did you yourself? I mean, how did you came to this role? I mean, working with the influencers. What's your story, and how did you actually join FunPlus?
Exactly. It's a long story. I'll make it short. So I started working with a PR agency. So I did fashion PR. So I was working with a lot of local influencers and mini celebrities and local celebrities. So this transitioned me to the Instagram back in the days when it was the golden Instagram days, and then moved to YouTube campaigns where practically we did tech reviews. And that's how I transitioned to the mobile gaming and gaming sponsorships.
We have some time, so let me ask these questions. I'm working up with the influencer mostly on YouTube. Is there a best way that someone should approach a company for influencer marketing, or should someone like me who creates content wait for the company to approach me instead?
So when it's a small studio, I think you can do directly approach, but for bigger studios like ourselves, we would rather work through a partner. This is just logistically speaking, you have to create agreements with every individual you're working with, onboarding the system, and then pay them. So when you work through an agency, especially if you can find a good talent agency to represent you, it will streamline all these problems that bigger companies like ours might have working with individuals directly. So I would say smaller studios might be open, especially if you're like or working with them directly or representing their games 100% on your content. But if you don't, then working through a studio, through a talent agency, that will be the best case, I would say.
And now you've been. How long have you been in the games industry yourself?
A little bit more than 3 years now. So I came to Barcelona after working for a tech company in Sweden, and I started working at Social Point, and then soon after changed a few companies and landed here at FunPlus. So it's a little bit more than 3 years.
Understood. And what is it that you liked about the games industry? Actually, like working with the influencers, you had. Yeah, I mean, compared to tech, maybe.
So the good thing with tech is like the LTV is higher, so you can do way more fun things. Let's say a little bit more branding potentially, but mobile gaming is stricter LTVs, lower CPIs. So we're kind of like, let's say, limited by the product, but in a good way, but the reach is higher as well. So I really enjoy working with mobile gaming because it's very data driven, and obviously you have to be creative, but creativity is limited by performance. That's why I said influencer marketing is in the limbo between brand awareness and performance. So performance is leading most of the times because budgets should be ROI profitable, and we're always aiming to create performance-driven campaigns. That's why I focused a lot on how we can track and analyze the campaign, both on the tracked side and the organic uplift.
Thank you very much, Dimitris, for
too.
being with us. If you have a moment, so for everyone, I'm reminding you can jump on our Discord to ask some questions. We agreed with Dimitris that he's going to be there to take up some questions. So thank you very much for being with us, and we'll continue with the program. Thank you.
Bye.
And we continue with the program. Hi, JP.
Hello, can you hear me
How
well?
are you doing? And welcome.
Fine.
Thank you very much for being with us today. Here's your deck. The floor is yours.
So I'm Jari-Pekka Kaleva, Managing Director of the European Games Developer Federation. And Oleg kindly invited me to speak today about the state of the games industry in 2024. And as you all know, it has been quite a rough year. So the theme or motto for this year seems to be "Let's survive." But before that, let's first. On screen. Talk about EGDF. So EGDF represents 23 trade associations from 22 different European countries. So we are basically lobbying for the game developers on the European level, as well as we are aggregating data on the state of the games industry. And furthermore, we are facilitating access to a number of the EU projects, etc., in order to keep European games industry in the map of the European decision makers. What we focus on is building a digital single market area where game developer studios flourish. And in practice, this means that we focus on ensuring access to funding, access to talent, and access to the top of the value chain for the game developer studios. And of course, all this is based on understanding the state of the games markets. So, let's start about the state of the industry. In order to really reflect where we are at the moment, it's of course important to recall what has happened during the not so happy 2020s. Of course, in the beginning of the decade, we had COVID. And of course, on that side, the trade associations collaborated quite a lot on the knowledge sharing and facilitating the games industry to access the different support instruments, etc. And of course, in the beginning, it looks like COVID will be a huge crisis for the games industry, but from the market-wise, markets were booming. However, it was a really, really challenging time for the game creators, people working for the studios. The mental burden was really high for many of us, and it was really, really tough 1 or 2 years. And when the COVID restrictions started to move away in 2022, it looks like we are returning normal. There was lots of money in the markets. Everything looks really good. And then the war started. So when the Russian tanks rolled over the Ukrainian border, of course, European Games Industry Trade Associations were helping the war refugees from Ukraine, especially on the games industry side, to relocate to different countries, and at the same time try to help the studios to navigate in the new reality where the interest rates were rising and everything was really, really uncertain. And from that point forward, things have been even more rough for the industry. So in 2023, it looked like the dip, like the games industry, game markets reached their tipping point during the COVID, and there was a slight decrease for the first time in the game markets. However, all the predictions will say that we would be back on the track. However, what really, really hit the games industry in 2023 was that the investment rates dropped by 75%. So, of course, you have to keep in mind that 2021, 2022 were like crazy years for the games industry. There was so much money available for the game developer studios as risky investment that it was something that we have never really experienced. And also we went down a lot. It was a huge crash compared to previous years. Still, we are now, the investment hasn't completely stopped. But many of the challenges we are facing now are coming from this fact that there is investment winter at the moment. And when we look to the bankruptcies, we don't really have the data yet from 2023. All we have is an indication from the general ICT company data that many of the games industry studios are registered in the statistics. So there has been a huge spike in the bankruptcies intersector into EU level, and unfortunately, game developer studios are part of that trend most likely. So we have already heard a lot about studio closures, and many, and there has been, as we all know, huge layoffs in the industry. So, yeah, 2023 was not a great year for the industry. So EGDF has been tracking the state of the industry in many terms, and we are currently collecting data from 2022. The reason for this is that it takes first half a year for our members after the financial year has ended to actually collect the data. And then usually the reports are published on the autumn, and then the EGDF aggregates the data from these reports. And so it means that there is always 1.5 year delay in our data collection, unavoidably. But it looks like the 2022 was still a great year for the European games industry. The number of studios increased, number of turnover increased, and number of people employed by the industry increased. Most likely in 2023, there has been a drop. How big? We don't know that yet. Next year, we will have the data in our hands. But yeah, 2023 was a really, really challenging year. So where are we at now, 2024? So as said, brace yourself. 2024 is going to be a difficult year. First of all, games market are becoming increasingly saturated. They were saturated already before. They are now even more saturated, as on many platforms, the same number of new games are published in a day as were published in a year 10 years ago. And there has been so many games that were funded during the 2021 and 2022 investment boom that are now entering the markets, that the competition is huge. There are some big winners in this game. If you are going to be a hit, you have a hit game in your hand, yeah, you're still going to make a lot of money. But we are going to see also many high-profile failures and many studios that are struggling to survive in silence. So the success seems to be polarizing again and squeezing the middle of the market. Then there is sky-high market access barriers on the mobile game markets that has been the driver of the growth in the European games industry for years. So after restrictions on the gatekeeper platforms, the gatekeeper platform set a lot of restrictions on access to data, especially on Apple side. Mobile marketing user acquisition became really highly expensive, and that has been a huge challenge for the industry. And many companies are now struggling to reach the players. Hopefully, the Digital Markets Act introduced by the European Union this year will change the situation, but that remains to be seen. Yeah. Then there was the end of the subscription platform hype. There were lots of hopes that this would increase the competition. And for a while, many people were able to close quite nice deals from the subscription side. However, now those days are over. It's really, really hard to access the markets. NFT hype, cryptocurrency hype, that's gone now. However, let's see how the next generation of crypto games or NFT games are going to survive in the markets, because the first generation games were quite bad, but the next ones will be better and find their market segment. Difficult times, lots of games, lots of studios struggling. At the same time, of course, the publisher and investor expectations have increased a lot. You always need to have a lot of data demonstrating that your game has a potential. They are not really willing to take the risk. And because of that, there is a huge investment winter at the moment. And when you combine that with austerity measures, a number of the EU member states have introduced on the public funding, it makes the situation of the companies even harder. And it didn't really help that those who had used loan funding as a bridge funding for the difficult times now have to pay much higher interest rates than before. Like for years, the loan funding was basically free money. Now it's not. And also the IPO hype that was really high in many of the countries is gone now. And basically this means that the runway is ending for many of the startups. So we had raised a few millions in 2021 or 2022. Now you need the second round of funding, and it's really, really hard to succeed on doing that. Some succeed, many don't. We have seen a lot of studio closures already. And many of the studios have tried to move to subcontractor markets, but that's extremely hard market. Games before, and then you try to move to B2B side, it's a completely different business model. So we have seen layoffs, of course, out of contact. In many EU member states, also the brain drain in the games industry is quite big. So people are relocating to other locations where there are more jobs available, or they are working remotely for those companies on the other countries. And that, of course, makes the situation for the local companies harder to find necessary talent. And in the end, everyone is also afraid that some kind of World War III would be starting and everything is gloomy and dark. So hopefully not, but it's not a surprise that game developer communities around Europe are, well, more or less pessimistic at the moment. But it's important to keep in mind that the level of the pessimism really is culturally connected in many cases, or then also the situation of the different games industry ecosystems are quite different. Only 12% of the games industry companies expected the industry to grow in 2024. So the Germans are quite cynical on this side. Meanwhile, UK game studios are actually a bit optimistic. They have the startup spirit and entrepreneurial spirit that, well, things might be getting better in 2024. So although it has been hard times, it doesn't mean that hope would be completely gone. And the reason for that in Europe is that in the end, Europe is a great place to be during these difficult times. First of all, European companies have always been among the forerunners on exploiting the new opportunities and disruptions, especially countries like Finland that have lots of investment in R&D experimentation, R&D funding from Business Finland. And even though the Finnish government is now cutting from everywhere else, they are still keeping the R&D funding on the top of their priority list and are actually investing even more on that. So we have seen a lot of the companies experimenting with AI lately, or NFTs, cryptos, VR, AR, etc., etc. So there are a lot of the interesting startups building something novel, something new that hopefully will lead to next success stories emerging from all the European countries over the next years when the markets get bigger. And the game markets themselves are back on the growth track. Say it in the beginning. It's people are again making money in the games. Unfortunately, a lot of that money goes to big studios, big hits, but even the smaller players are able to survive in these markets if they reach their players. And it was a really, really good situation that we had those 2 fat years before the crisis really hit the games industry, because many of the European companies were in really, really good shape. We entered this difficult 2023 and difficult 2024. So it could have been much worse. And actually many of the studios have the war chest to survive another 2 years. Hopefully in 2025, things will be much better. And something we have seen is that Europe has a great talent pool. So for years and years, one of the main complaints we received from the studios was that there is a huge challenges in finding the skilled employees. And what we have seen all around Europe, that those who can are recruiting like crazy at the moment. There is finally lots of this senior talent available in the job markets. So Europe has a great talent pool. Europe also has a great game education. So not only we have great senior talent, but we have a education system that is able to produce one of the best junior talents globally on this continent. And that, of course, is a great advantage for growing the business in Europe. And thirdly, Europe is also still a really, really attractive location for the foreign talents. So while Europe is struggling, situation in many other countries is even worse. And many of the people are seeing Europe as a place where to relocate and with their families start working for the game developer studios. So we are still able to attract the best global talent here. And we do have still many great game developer studios in this country and this continent. There are many of them who are struggling at the moment, but many of them are very, very likely to survive. We have seen many closures, but even more studios are surviving. And at the same time, many of the European investors have money at the moment. Just before these hard times really hit the industry, there were also a lot of exits in the games industry, and many of these people are now waiting for the better times to start investing in the games. So we have finally the European capital waiting for the better times. So when the better times come, investors are ready, they have money, and hopefully that will lead to build another small investment way to the startups that have been struggling so much during these 2 years. And Europe has great public funding instruments. So even though there has been lots of cuts, Finland has one of the best R&D instruments on the globe. Germany and France have great support instruments for game productions. Sweden has a great SME support structures on the local level, etc., etc. And that really helps game developer studios to survive through these difficult times when access to private funding is particularly challenging. So it's difficult, but Europe is the place to be. And in the end, difficult times make the best entrepreneurs. So perhaps it was a bit of a necessary reality check for the industry that it's not just easy access to money. Sometimes you have to work really hard, make great games, and find the best talents in order to survive. And these kind of difficult times create great games, great entrepreneurs, great game developer studios. It's not easy, it's difficult, but hopefully also something great will emerge from this these difficult times. So what are the game developer studios through the trade associations doing at the moment to help your struggling game developers and game developer studios? First of all, what we have identified, one of the key areas is focus on the students and startups. Those are the two area groups, so the startup entrepreneurs and the students that are struggling the most in the current situation. This means that we are, through the trade association, encouraging the internship programs, trying to find more public funding for the startups, etc., etc. And of course, access to public funding and access to funding in general is really, really important at the moment. And all the help we can now provide for the companies to get their second round of funding or the first round of funding from starting new companies is crucial. And what we really need is some kind of strategic approach on the growth. EU is at the moment itself planning to build a specific strategy for video games industry. GDF is doing its own strategies. Many of our member associations are building their strategies, because what now is needed is very targeted action in order to help the local game industry ecosystems to grow and survive through these difficult times. And I'm certain we will survive. and most likely we hope, and our goal is that games industry in Europe will be back on the growth track in 2025, hopefully. And from that year onward, we will again see the growth we got so used to during the last decade. So happy to answer any of your questions in Discord.
Thank you very much, JP. Just right in time. So encouraging everyone to join the Discord. We have a lot of viewers, so this is great. Thanks, JP. Very encouraging talk. And anyone, who wants to ask more questions, please join on Discord. Thanks, JP. Thanks for being with us.
See you on Discord.
All right, and please welcome our next speaker. Yes, sir. Great to have you here.
Hey, thanks, Alec. Very, very great to be here.
The floor is yours.
I'll jump right into it. All right. Hello, everyone. We're here to talk about reinventing game launches. Before we go into it, the mandatory "Who am I" slide. My name is Jesse Lempiäinen. I'm based here in Helsinki, Finland. I did my time like a good 90% of everyone that's ever worked in mobile gaming and lives in Finland. So I did my time at Rovio working as a product marketing manager, primarily supporting and launching new games, which is part of the reasons why I'm having this talk here today. After a while, though, I jumped the ship and joined Geek Lab with my co-founders as the CEO. And at this company, what we do particularly is help new game companies or existing game companies to launch new games profitably, which is why we're again having this talk today. So I'm going to go through quickly why do we need to change, what are the sort of main three conflicts that I sort of seen in this industry, how we can fix it, and then to also leave you guys with something very, very tangible, also how you can do it. So actually share some examples. And yeah, I'll be then on Discord as well in case any questions come up, and I'm sure we'll probably have some time for Q&A at the end of this as well. All right, let's jump right into it. So why do we need to change? Well, starting with the obvious, making games is super fun, and that's why we're all doing it. And it's a very, very solid, over $100 billion business. But with that, it also comes with the fact that there's about 1 million mobile games in the market right now, which is why majority of the new game launches fail. Matter of fact, out of the top 10 games that were launched, top 10 games right now in the United States, so only one of them was launched in 2023-ish, which is Monopoly Go, obviously with its great success. So as you can see, it's very, very hard to crack it with mobile and with console. And the successful launches in the new era will have two weapons sort of in common. One is that they're either from very big billion-dollar companies, or they have a very, very, very strong IP. And majority of the successful launches happen to have both of these things. So both the billion-dollar company and the strong IP. So if you don't have either one of those, so we have to kind of rethink a bit like how we launch these games if we really, really want to break into the vault. A bit of a background story as well. So it was year 2018, and we were releasing this game called Angry Birds Dream Blast, which at Rovio, which we can classify as a successful, extremely successful launch, as it made it, and it still is in the top 100 games in grossing in United States. But what you might not see from the outside is that for us to get there, we had to fail a couple of times. So we had plenty of games that we tried, we lost money, we tried again, lost more money, tried again, lost all the money, we were left with no money at all, and luckily Angry Birds Dream Blast came to the rescue, and then a lot of money came back. Obviously, this is not the real case. Rovio did not run on money. It's a big company, just made for a bit of a better story here to present it like that. But in short, the point is that for us to get Dream Blast, though, we still had to fail multiple times for us to get to that point where that game was a great success. And Rovio, being a great big company, could afford to try multiple times. Then we started Geek Lab, and we were in a situation where we had no features, nothing very tangible yet, and at the same time we had absolutely no money. That bank account was on the other side. It was net negative. So we had to really figure out like how we could actually make it without any money. How can we actually afford to fail when we're not having any money? Which is why we then ended up like literally developing all of our features right in the front of the users. So whenever the user said, "Hey, we're planning on doing some stuff on Huawei App Gallery," we jumped right into it and coded that feature right in front of them with them, whilst the platform was out. And with that, we were able to kind of learn very quickly which are the features that really brought traction and could help the game developers to achieve what they wanted, and which were the ones that like made absolutely no sense. As an example, the marketing funnel was a thing that I thought that would take us to 100 million. No one used it even once. It was a very bad feature. So all of this led me to sort of think retrospectively about this entire way that we've been launching games, and I realized there are like truly like three main conflicts that I see, big problems that I see in the way that we're doing it right now. First of them is that we say that we do it for the players, but honestly, we're actually developing the games for ourselves by ourselves. And here's sort of a summary of a traditional way of building games. Like I'm sure there's some nuances and different companies work it in a bit of a different way, but this is more or less the traditional way on how things go, specifically in a bit of a bigger company. So we have this sort of flight path, this linear path, whatever we want to call it, where the first section is the initial idea. And the milestone here to get from the initial idea to production is to truly validate internally, like, is this game fun? Is this like something we actually enjoy when we play it? And is there a market potential for this game? So we do like a bit of research and understand like what the actual market potential could be. If all of those boxes sort of tick and make sense, so then you might be able to move towards production, during which then the next step before you can kind of soft launch the game is to validate the game with some very early market tests, seeing like if people actually respond to the game the way you want it, and also like technical tests to see that everything is actually working when you get some users actually playing the game. If all this works, we move to soft launch, where it's all about figuring out how to acquire users cheaper than you end up like actually getting money of them. Install, then you're sort of good to go to a global launch, at which then it's a story of continuous live operations and optimizations and events and DLCs and whatever you want to do to extend the lifespan of the title. But when we look at this thing, we immediately can notice two main issues, or one main issue. First is that like everything here, the initial idea and this production part, that's all internal things. You might have done like a market research, but you never really validated those things, only towards the end of the production. And that's quite a long time already, like spending time, money, and resources into developing the game. Whereas only after that, you truly start to actually develop that game with the users. There was a talk earlier today about Baldur's Gate. I'll tap onto this a bit later as well, where it was perfectly mentioned that they actually had the game out for like 3 years or what in beta, which is a class example of building the game with the audience, and it became a success. But most normally, this is sort of unfortunately how it goes. It comes with this issue too. So the further you go, the higher the cost gets. So the later you fail, the more expensively you fail, Whereas if you find that the thing that you're building unfortunately isn't going to work the way that you're currently positioning it and building it, so if you fail early, you get to try twice for the same amount of money and resources that you would for only one try if you figure those things out later. Here's a case study of an example of what happened. So we had this game called Phoenix Rangers back at Rovio, and it was a puzzle RPG game, very heavily focused on the characters. So we thought that, okay, with having different character art styles, that could really impact the marketing figures as well as the engagement of the game itself. So we ran a series of different character art styles, and we ended up actually finding out that this particular art style performed like 38% like better than the original art style. So that would mean like a huge deal in terms of your marketing KPIs, and then it's obviously reasonable to think that those would translate into the actual in-game KPIs as well. The only issue was that we ran this at this part at the very end of the soft launch, so it was unfortunately a bit too late for us to do all the changes. It already costed us too much, so the game never had a chance. The other one is this: we want to collaborate internally, but we mainly have two separate units without connection. If you're a smaller studio and you don't have this issue yet, I still want you to think about this so that you won't have this issue later either. So we truly have two separate units with two different timelines. Game team's involvement obviously starts from the very first day and goes throughout the history of the game, whereas the central teams that are typically the sort of external vision deliverers, like they only come in like bits and parts only towards like the end of the soft launch. It's very much involved. So whereas the game team's vision is very much internal, guided by the external data points that are provided by the central units. So typically the central units come in way too late for all of those like very important metrics to be taken into account whilst developing the game. And lastly, the smallest decisions have the biggest impacts. For this, I have another case study. So we're working with this game company, a newly founded game company. They wanted to make a crossword puzzle game. They had a very small team, and they needed insights on market of the market potential. So what we did a bunch of market research. We figured out that, hey, wait a minute, not a single crossword game is having like proper meta elements in it at the moment. So we conducted a study in the United States and figured out that people in states love dogs more than they love cats. So we made this very nice looking dog mascot and had that as one version of how the game actually could sort of look like. And while on the side, you can see another version of another hypothesis that we built, which was that we'll just make a plain newspaper looking sort of UI of the game, as that's kind of how people typically have been playing these type of word puzzles in real paper. So a very basic test, but in short, if the dog here would win, that would mean that from features point of view, the game team would have to focus a bit more on meta, sound effects, visual effects, and therefore like hire also like a 2D visual artist, maybe a narrative designer if the meta really takes off. And then regarding the marketing metrics, we would find those out again during the soft launch. Whereas if we would go with the newspaper looking thing, then the full focus would be just on the crosswords and also maybe some social features that you can add on top of it, meaning that the team would need to hire additional level designers, social features developers, and so on. And again, for marketing metrics, we would be able to find those out during soft launch. But because we actually did this test like in the very first second of the initial idea phase, so we were able to figure out that with this newspaper thing, we need to go with this because it's twice as effective as the dog one. So apparently people didn't love dogs that much. So it was twice as effective, meaning then that the whole point was to focus then on the crosswords and social features and hire the type of personnel that you can see up there. So yeah, to sum it up, we say we do it for the players, but we're really developing it by ourselves. We want to collaborate internally, but we typically have two separate units without as good of a connection as we should have. And lastly, the smallest decisions that we make, sometimes subconsciously, may have like the biggest impact of imaginable. So how can we fix it? First, there's not a single secret worth hiding from your audience. 1 million games out already. That's already quite a lot of different games. And whatever combination of different things you've thought of, most likely someone else has as well. And I can't remember who it was. Maybe Steve Jobs that said that like an idea though is like a very an idea itself is nothing. Like that's only 10% of the thing. Even no matter how good the idea is, 90% of the thing comes from the actual execution as well. So truly, you just go ahead, show it, test, and learn based on the things that you can run. So instead of thinking like developing a game like a flight path with accelerating touch points that you have with the audience, instead think of it as a loop. So you do things, you seize up the market, you validate the insights, you come up with this brilliant idea that like puzzles and dogs equals a lot of money, whereas you run the test and you figure out, no, that's not actually the way you go. You test and validate and you learn. This is the top type of mentality that will allow you to launch successfully. I'm going to share a few examples so that this will make it a lot clearer for you guys. This is the Baldur's Gate reference as well. So let's imagine that we would be making a game. We would take in like it would be a mobile game. We'd take the amazing like gameplay features that the Diablo Immortal has built in and porting the game into mobile, whilst remaining with the extremely immersive and extensive storylines and everything that Baldur's Gate 3 had to offer. And we'd build this in Unreal Engine 5 to give that like a very, very crisp look. So this would be our running idea. Instead of shooting the dark though, what we would do is we would actually invest a bit more effort and some money in the beginning to know a lot better with this loop mentality in our minds. Short disclaimer, it's not free, it requires effort, but it's definitely worth it. So what we could do, again, the very, very first second, we would be able to create an ad that would kind of capture the whole thing that we're now trying to do. So here you can see it's sort of a top-down view, wizards and warlocks, assemble your party and venture forth in a cinematic RPG. All right, it kind of gets some of the ideas that we had in mind already in one particular ad. You would run that ad in Meta, and anyone that would click that ad would then end up on a survey where we explain that, hey, super dope that you got here. Unfortunately, the game isn't out yet. But if you answer these questions here below, you can affect like how we actually end up developing the game. And at the very end, you'll get a link to our very, very exclusive Discord community that we'll have already at this stage. So a test like this would set you back like around $1,250 if done like with a good scale in the United States. But with this, you'd be able to get early insights if there is any traction in the idea that you have. And on top of that, what types of things the users that like actually resonated with this idea, what types of things they would want to have. And on top of that, you would even have like a earliest Discord members as well that you could continuously talk with. After that learning, we could take it forward. We could figure out like, okay, what would be the best art style that we could build this for? So we could have a version with realistic style, with pixel style, cartoon style, kind of this 2.5D style, and then throw a wild card and like a text-based adventure game there as well. And with this, we would, on top of the flow that we showed earlier, we could even add like a fake App Store landing page in between the ad and then the survey to even get more insights and understand not only the ad clicks, but also like how many users would actually want to hit that install button to get in there. Obviously, with more variants, this would cost you a bit more, but again, extremely valuable information you would be able to get from here. We could follow that up with a theme test. So we could see if like a fantasy theme would make sense, or if it's too, we would try something completely new, like a modern game. And again, $5,000 setup would be the same, and you'd get immense amount of insights. And at the end of the day, when we've just with those 3 tests, so instead of ending up in a situation like this where we would just do a market research and based on that build our idea and think that this is the way to go forward, we'd end up in something that could look like what you see on the top right corner. Whereas with these 3 tests alone, we would be able to figure out that, okay, this was the particular art style, this was the particular theme, which is why this version of the game has a lot better chance of success. Lastly, you don't always have to follow exactly what's the best sort of thing in terms of marketing. But the point of running these tests is to give you the data points and understanding on the effects of your decision. So if you end up doing this decision, it means that we will have a bit higher user acquisition cost. We might need to then do some things otherwise in the actual game design to sort of add up to it. Yeah, I think I have 1 minute left, so I don't know if there's too much time for Q&A. I'd like to thank from my end. You can add me on LinkedIn, and I'll be sure to also stay in Discord to answer any questions you guys might have.
Thank you very much, Jesse. Thank you very much. I managed to take some pictures while you were talking. We had a great audience. Yes, we have to wrap up. We are gonna move on. I see there's the next speaker coming in, but I want to thank you so much for joining us, and to everyone who is there, because I see that there's questions coming in. Just a reminder that please join us on Discord. There's a good Q&A going on. My colleague is posting the link to Discord if you are not yet there, and Jesse is going to stay there for a little while to answer your questions. So bring up the questions. With that being said, thank you so much, Jesse, for
thank you very much
for being with us today.
Thank you. Take care.
Hi, everyone, and thanks, Pavel and Avi, for joining. So we have super exciting things to do. We've been running the LITE Art Challenge, and this is the time to announce the winners of the challenge. And well, Avi, Pavel, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Hey, we're excited to be here. Hope you're having a good time at the event. And yeah, we're going to present some of the artwork that was submitted. And then also, let's see how I move to the next slide here. That way. And also announce the winners, right? So, but before we go into that, I think we should, tell you what the challenge was about to those who didn't participate. And about LITE, because the challenge was with using LITE. So LITE is a AI parametric based system for creating and editing 3D models. It's meant to be easy to use and fast, and so you could like quickly integrate it into your pipeline, take something out of LITE into another tool and retexture it, modify it, take it into your games and art renders and so on. So maybe I'll go and show it for a minute before we go on. I'll present another screen. Okay, yeah. So Pavel, you'll tell me if it's showing or not showing properly.
Yeah,
I think it's
showing.
showing fine. And so, right, so here's LITE, and let's say I want to create a city. And so I'd go and ask for an urban apartment building. And it would spawn. It now looks at the available space of options in the system, and it creates it by assembling it out of code. Right, and there we have a building, and now I can edit it with text too. Like, right, so here's the building that we have, and I can do something like maybe remove those fire escapes. Remove the fire escape. Which, yeah, let's try something else and make it higher with more floors. Okay, yeah, and then things could, you could change that, like right? With sliders, you could see like that effect of changing, or you could change it with text. And the thing is, you could create many, right? Just duplicate it, create multiple permutations, and you have potentially buildings for a full street. So that's very short. That's what Sloyd is. And now let's go back to the slides. And so what the challenge was to take, and it's showing, right? Pavel, it's showing the slides?
Right now, no.
Okay.
I can't see it. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
working.
It just took a time. So it was basically to take some assets or objects that you generate out of Sloyd and to take that mascot that you see over here. It's called Floyd, and just put it in a scene and have fun with it and create something. And we are the submissions were judged based on 3 categories: most visually appealing, most creative, which also looks creativity in general, and then creativity in the use of Sloyd objects specifically, and best combined, right? Somebody who's both high scoring on being visually appealing and on being the most creative. So let's start looking at artwork. So here's the first submission, or a submission. It can come by order by Brian Wong.
Yeah. What can I say? The scene has a great atmosphere and interesting narrative side. I like the warm light and the detailed work with the foliage and scenery in general. The main thing that I want to highlight as a possible way of improving this work is the composition. Right now, it's a bit hard to tell what is the main focus is and what is the background. So if you just bring the camera closer and make the main characters a bit pop, it will surely elevate your work. Great work.
Okay. Next to this next one by Ingar.
Yeah, this one is great. I like the motion and focus on characters and overall composition of the image. This action-driven scene definitely translates the emotions and can be a movie poster of some sort. However, there are some ways of enhancing this work. The image itself lacks some quality and looks a bit washed up. It's a bit overexposed and oversaturated, and I would definitely enjoy seeing more Sloyd assets in the scene. Other than that, amazing submission. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw this poster only with Hollywood actors and not Floyd's. I can't point to which movie it was.
Yeah, definitely.
Next submission by Adelina.
Yeah, prehistoric Floyd is trying to make friends with the locals. What can I say? I like the atmosphere and the golden hour light. The composition looks solid. However, the scene needs some more attention to the details. Texturing materials and maybe some more background assets can make this work deeper and more sophisticated. It's a good job. Thank you.
Okay, so this one called Floyd Portal by Taina.
Yeah, I like this artwork. It has its late 90s racing game kind of aesthetic and vibe. The artist successfully portrayed the drive and emotion through the composition work and clever usage of Sloyd assets. I would definitely want to see the scene a bit closer and brighten up, for sure. Right now, we're kind of looking at it through the sunglasses. Just bring back the sun, and it will definitely elevate this tropical atmosphere. Great, amazing work.
And I like how the use of a portal allowed Tanya to put like 2 scenes together in one picture. So I think now we're going to next slide is already the runner-up or one of 2 runner-ups for the most visually appealing work. Let's see. Yeah. So a runner-up by Kale Oli.
Yeah. I like this. It's vibrant, creative, and very well put together. All used Sloyd assets complement each other and the overall look of the image. Besides all of that, I want to highlight the texturing work. Pirate Floyd with a wooden leg and golden tooth, patched sail, and cartoony palm trees add polish to the work and enrich its visuals. The only thing that I wanted to advise here is the post-effect work. The final image looks a bit too saturated and has big contrast differences, making enjoying the scene a bit harder. Try making the retouching process more subtle. It may help increase the overall appeal of the image. Other than that, amazing work. Thank you.
Okay, for the next runner-up, this piece of work is called Pink Floyd on the Bright Side of the Moon by Babak.
Yeah, great reference, by the way. Very cute looking work. I like the color palette and technical skills and creative approach to this artist showed in this work. Good composition, appealing soft lighting makes the image looks interesting and fun to explore. However, it looks a bit empty, and I would be really interested to see the whole story of Floyd covered in fur traveling to the other planets. Good artwork.
Really good artwork. Like the lighting is great, and it just like texturing it just makes you feel good, I think, right? So on to the winner of the first category, most visually appealing artwork, and there we have it. And this is by I have like the text link on top of the yeah. So this one is by Noyan, right? I have like something, Noyan.
Good.
Go ahead, Pavel.
Hands down, it is the most cinematic and visually appealing work submitted during this challenge. Great composition, intriguing story, amazing light, perfect materials and texturing work, and most importantly, a very professional work with solid assets. All of them are shaded and positioned and to complement each other and to complete the whole scene. I'm so excited when artists successfully blend them into their project. Great, amazing work, and congratulations.
Yeah, like exactly, like Slide is blended there in the background in all the kind of like cardon or wood kind of like 2D things in the background. Yeah, so we are now on to the runner-ups in the creativity category. Let's look at this one by Killian.
Yeah. Truly unique looking entry. I respect the unexpected camera angle and stylistic approach. The image looks almost like an illustration in a book or some avant-garde movie poster. Asset usage, composition, and of course the humor is on point. Minor suggestion could be made about technical side of the image. Pixelated lines looks a bit noisy and inconsistent, and the pixel size is too small, which makes the picture look rather low quality than stylized. Other than that, amazing work.
And on to the next by Nijat.
Yeah, not gonna lie, this is my personal favorite. This work has good composition, appealing colors, creative concept, and humor again. Floyd looks adorable, and the report on the screen truly captivates all the attention. Clever work with solid assets truly elevates this work. Great job. The only thing that could be improved is the emptiness of the scene. The majority of new studio and half of the TV screen is just plain colors. This minimalistic approach kind of brings the quality of the work a bit down and make it look a bit unpolished. Other than that, amazing entry. Thank you.
Yeah, and I like how the Floyds inside the news like have a shocked expression. It's just like, very minimal. And then everything on it, as far as I can see, is like a Sloyd, made with Sloyd, the whole street.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Around it, yeah. And so now we're going to the winner of, the most creative category. Drum roll. Okay, and this one is by Alexandra, and it's called Wild Floyd.
Yeah, well, howdy. This time Floyd is in Wild West, and he looks immaculate in this setting. Composition, texture, materials, asset usage, creativeness, and again, humor is amazing. Everything in this work screams quality. This image is definitely one of my favorites. I just want to see more of a Wild West Floyd adventures. Great work, keep it up. Congratulations.
Yeah, and kind of like I think the creativity here is in a way the small details, right? Like the
definitely.
fonts on the signs, the wanted sign, the font on the building, and lots of small details like that. Yeah, so we're left with one other submission to review, which is the winner for the best combined. So let's have it. So this work is called Sloyd Space Fight by Mila.
Yeah. First of all, there is so much going on in this picture. It's very action-packed, bright, and spectacular, almost movie poster quality work. I like the narrative, work with poses, and good usage of VFX. It's very captivating to see how different artists use Sloyd assets to complete their concept and tell the story. This work is definitely falls in that category. Of course, there are some non-Sloyd assets, but the artist did a great job to make everything work as one. And even if I wanted to suggest anything to enhance this work, it must be some composition tweaks. Right now, it looks a bit noisy and all over the place. If you try to widen up the image ratio and let the scene breathe a bit, it may let the eye roam freely and pick up all the details that you wanted to highlight. Overall, amazing and great work. Congratulations.
Yeah, so this is Stormtroopers against the Floyds. I'd maybe call it the Clone Wars or something. Yeah, so that's it. I think we're also like exactly on time. So we'll be in the Q&A part, I guess. Oh, we have one more slide, which is just my email to remind that we have a Discord and the app is free. You can go ahead and use it at app.sloyd.ai. And yeah, I think with that, we are done. You're muted, Oleg.
You're muted.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Yes, I just said that congratulations to the winners. Yeah, amazing work. I mean, it was fantastic to see so many submissions. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Pavel. Thanks, Avi, for joining us. Yeah, just reminding everyone that you can connect with Avi and Pavel on Discord. And Avi, please put there the link to your Discord, get the winners, and yeah, we're gonna move on with the program, but fantastic to have you guys as always.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Hello.
Alrighty.
Hey.
Hey, Surav, Robin, Thomas. We continue with the program, and oh my God, we had yeah. So this is the Unity programming challenge. We had the biggest amount of submissions. I played those games today, actually, before the event. It was fantastic to see. Oh my God. Thank you everyone who participated. But today we have Surav, Thomas, and Robin. You guys want to do a quick introduction before I jump and show the winners?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Hi. Welcome. And so many great contributions. Really excited. Of course, not everybody can win, but we're going to present some cool projects that were handed in. Myself, I'm Robin. I work at InnoGames in Hamburg, Unity developer, and I'm excited to be here.
Hey everyone, I'm Saurav. I work in Unity Helsinki office, and I work with the engine support team, but I've also have had a long career as a game developer. And regarding this competition, I must say that this time the quality of submissions have really been top notch. I had a very challenging time to decide the winner as to who is to be given which prize, but I think we have unanimously made our decision. So the games we have chosen, I think they would really strike with you. I'm really excited to show what we have in store for us today.
Yep.
I agree with that. Hi, everybody. My name is Tomer Thomas. I work at Unity as a technical marketing advocate on the education team. I'm a Unity certified programmer, and just want to echo what everybody said. The games this year were really, really good.
You're muted.
Oh, I'm the who's the presenter? Okay, it's Ola.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that we have the drums. So let's announce the winners of the Unity Programming Challenge. Most creative, Jerry Achanen. Congratulations, Jerry. Best technical execution, Jasper Hankasala. So if you guys are here, fantastic. Congratulations. And best overall concept, Alexander Tikhamirov. With that being said, guys, I think I give the floor to you. So let's dig into the code.
Yes, I think I'm gonna start. Maybe you can show my screen, please. Not sure if my screen is sharing. Yes. Oh, wait, wrong screen.
You sent us into the void, Robin. The void.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. So sorry. Okay, give me a sec. Sorry about this. Here we go. Okay, can you see my screen? It's a typical, yes, okay. So, it's my pleasure to show you and review a bit the game that was scored most creative. It's called Endless Archer. Really cool game. Being an archer myself, even called Robin, so I think this is pretty fitting for Robin Hood. And let me just quickly give you a few seconds playtime here, just so everybody gets on the page. So this is like an endless runner, and you of course are equipped with bow and arrow and have to shoot these targets. But there is a twist. So now there's these red walls, right? And if I shoot with an arrow these turn markers, I will move to the other walls, which is pretty clever and it's a lot of fun. Like, and to get extra points, you then of course can hit the extra targets, but the main goal is survival. And you of course always get faster and faster. So now I'm gonna, of course, intentionally, I've never lost at this game, die. So nice game over screen. There's even a high score system. Kudos, cool game. We played here with the colleagues a bit. It's a lot of fun. So of course you can see top-notch settings is also included, and a menu, so everything there, what a small game like this needs. So very nice. On the code side, let me switch quickly to the code. I hope this is big enough for everybody to see. So first of all, very nice that you took the time to write the README. It was very helpful, and it always gives a good quality of a project, any game, any library have a nice README. Here you can see how to play and even how to install, and there's some tips and tricks, and of course some credits and notices who helped or what frameworks were used. So very nice, even using the emojis always gives a good appearance. So then moving on to the code, this game has a singleton game manager, a pretty standard pattern, but it's always nice to have like a one place in the code where you kind of set where something starts and also what gets connected to what. This is nice. You can go through here. You already see like the first thing that's going to happen, like opening the main menu and then continuing into the game. Here you can also see it. I think at least this programmer has already seen some stuff I really like. Maybe it's just a detail, but for using, sometimes it's necessary to use Unity editor code inside the runtime code. So basically, if the fine wouldn't be here, then this would result in a compile error when building the game, but not
just a heads up, Robin. I think we're only seeing the Unity editor still. We're not seeing the if you're showing like a Visual Studio window, we're not seeing that.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks.
No problem.
Just hold on a sec. Okay. Gonna unshare again. This is always the live demo stuff, right? Yeah. Okay, so this should work now. Oleg, can you please show my screen in the presentation in the StreamYard? Yes.
Beautiful.
Okay. Can you see my code now? Yeah.
Yep.
Great. Thanks. So just really quickly going back to the README. Here's the README, really nice README, and apply everything what I said before that. We have this game manager where you can so singleton here, and you can see where everything starts. Coming back to the small detail, sometimes when you have Unity editor code, you have to use it in the runtime code. Like here, it's convenience function to stop playing. And I really like that you included the namespace here and not at the top of the file. Normally, I see a lot that you like have Unity editor up here, and this always muddies the usings, and sometimes other using slides into this define, and then that gives even more build errors once you build the code. So of course I remove that. So nice touch on that. And let's go on. I really like that you made it modular to extend the code and extend the level design. So we have like level segments. This is all based on the like controller. And let's quickly look at the segments. So every level segment is like their own prefab. And you can see here how they're designed, really easy to extend them. You could create another one and plug that into the segment controller. Really cool. And of course, this all checks out. You're spawning the prefabs. I guess you could pool them at some point, but it's in this case not necessary. Let's also check the score controller. So basically this takes care of the score. It records like if the player did some action that results in a score or combo. I really like that you're using observer patterns here. So basically, once this variable gets the value of this gets modified, then other things like the UI can subscribe to it, and then automatically gets updated. Just keeps things separated and clean. Really nice. One thing I would suggest, or I would change in here, you can see we have the score observer. And then in the level controller, we can see that we now use this. So here is the score controller from the score. And we now add a listener to subscribe to this when the score changes. And this inline method here, or local method, then sets actually the score on the view. So this score here is the view. And then that sets the score. And when we go into here, we can then see that it actually sets like the view values, even with an animation. So very nice. But I personally think maybe there's a reason for this. I mean, you can always shoot an email to me and telling me I'm wrong, but I think this indirection is one level too much. Like there's no real reason, I think, that you wouldn't be able to also just subscribe to this observer directly from the view. Now we're like piping through the score controller, through the level controller into the view. That would be the nice thing about observers, that you can like directly access them from the view. And even if you would have to do some validation here, I mean, let's assume you would like say that the score cannot be negative or something like this, you would edit it. Then you could still use this and not do it in here, but do it inside the observer. So that's also a very powerful thing about the observer pattern, is that you could add like validation and other functions directly in here, and then there's just one single point of truth then. Of course, there's a lot more to dig in here and a lot more to explore, but these are the highlights I think were interesting for me in the code, and I would move on to the next speaker. So thank you for the submission.
All right, this is my screen. I think we need to go to Sora first.
Yep. Hey, so the game I'm going to talk about, this is Dig Deeper. And let me first actually play the game a little bit to illustrate what the game is all about. Immediately, I like how the UI is already animating and there are credits and settings. Well, inside help, you can even figure out what the game is about and why is it running this way or what are you supposed to do. So if I play this game, you have a drill that detaches, and then you can basically encounter some enemies here. Right now I can control the drill using the A and D keys, but if I switch to one of my guns, then I can start shooting. And the idea is to survive for as long as I can in this pit. In the process, you also collect some diamonds or iron, gold, and there are stations within which you can deposit them. And well, on top, as you see, this is the health bar. And well, the idea is to basically dig as deep as possible. Visually, it's a very interesting game because of all the submissions that were submitted, this was kind of stunning, and it it immediately stood up out for me at least. There were lots of really nice submissions, but this one, based on the visual and everything, it was immediately something that stood out from a lot of other things. So this is a trading station. I can sell all the things that I've collected so far. And my drill, whichever was the damage, it has been fixed. And then I can leave from there and without selling anything. There are some enemies that come along the way, and there are some mines that you need to also like maneuver against. Now, I just want to have a look at the inside the editor before I go into the actual code base. Main menu is kind of stationed as it is, but here, as you can see, the most interesting part of the game is that despite doing all these things, and there are a few things I would like to talk about eventually, the game quite consistently runs at 60 FPS, which is really nice for a game like this. Now let's actually get into gameplay. The scene that starts up when you start the game. First off, I really like how basically the hierarchy is set up, although I think these are mostly labels, and well, there is a small uh, performance hit that you're suffering because this is essentially a game object that has a transform, which is also baked into the scene transform when it is calculated, but obviously it's doing nothing. But because this is hidden or switched off, so that is why the kind of performance hit is not that much. But at the same time, it is a very nice indicator as to what is happening, what are the systems, and how to access them. And if I bring the code here, so just a sec. So this is the code. These are the like game systems, and there are lots of scripts here. This entire thing, and immediately number one is the code base is like very well segregated. You know what to find and where to find it. Let's start by going to this script called drill state machine. This is mainly the script that runs the drill. So any okay, before I even show you the drill state machine, let's actually get to the drill state machine game object. And one thing is laudable, that is there are lots of things that you can do from the editor for debugging purposes. For example, you can heal the driller to max or kill it instantly, and just to check what's going on. And I believe this is applicable on every other entity that is there. So this is a very nice, these kind of things are very nice to have for debugging purposes. Also, you can see there is range slider here, which is very nice for somebody with visual, for just making sense of the numbers on both ends. So although these are not like mainstays here, there's not a lot of visual or editor scripts in this particular project, but the small things that has been done are really nice and well done, and I really appreciate them. So now if I get back to the scripts, one thing is also the fact that in some of the games I have seen, and I think Thomas is going to agree with me on this, that a lot of you have submitted variables which are public for no real reason. Uh, if your intention is to just expose a variable as in the editor, then this is the correct way of doing it. In this way, it is available to the editor, but at the same time, it is not available to any other script that might just grab it if it was public, or available to the outside this assembly in whole. Lots of getters and setters. A lot of things are happening in awake. That is great. All in all, this game project has the dominant design pattern is singleton, which is good. It works for this particular game, but probably I would, if I were doing this, I would drill down, well, drill pun intended, down a little bit into observer pattern. UI is actually using observer pattern, and I'm gonna get into there. That's actually quite appreciated. So this another thing here. So okay. So remember how we saw that the key code Q and E were used to control the left weapon and right weapon activation key. So if you just tag this along and find out where this was being used. Yep. If I just go down, this kind of broke my heart a little bit, because we are still using the old input system here, and this game is really well done, and the code base is almost close to as perfect as this could be. But if you use the new input system, you wouldn't even have to do this, not as many places at least, and you are basically having to refer to these variables here. You didn't have to. You could just grab them from the new input system. So this is just a nitpick. It definitely doesn't affect the performance. So as long as you're hitting the target and your game is easy to play, who cares, right? The other thing is about Event Manager. So I really like how Event Manager is a class that has a lot of subclasses, and all of these are events and actions that other parts of the of the code base is attaching themselves to, subscribing to them. This is really well done. I was expecting, well, going by the rest of the game, I was expecting this to also be some sort of a singleton. For example, event manager, something that has an instance and you're calling it through that. And I'm really glad that you didn't go in there. So this is also something I really appreciate. Let me actually open up chunk manager. So if I get back to the game, and instead of maximizing, just run it from here, you will see how chunks are being generated. Just a sec. Yep. So what is happening is that these are some of the chunks that are being generated across. So it's like almost like a roguelike thing going on here. The level is being created as the game is being played. Everything is perfect there, except for the fact that the chunks are instantiated and destroyed. This is the chunk prefab, which is being hold on. This is the chunk prefab, which is being instantiated here, and then at some point it's also being destroyed. When it is being unloaded, it's getting destroyed. This, of course, it is nitpicking again, because you are not really like suffering any penalty for that, but there are spikes in the editor, and I can show you those spikes. So these small spikes that you see are basically the instantiation and delete. Also the fact that when you're deleting something, is the memory is not really freed immediately. It's freed at the end of the frame. So for this game, it's fine. But if your memory overflows, which can get really big if this game ever becomes multiplayer, or your world grows in such a way that the memory is really struggling to accumulate all the chunks in the visible space, then this could be a real problem. So for scaling this game up, this could be like a live suggestion to use something like an object pool. Unity has an object pooler available natively that you can use if you do not want to roll out your own object pool. But uh, overall, this is really well done, and like we are very proud to present it the best technical execution. It really is a class apart from all the other projects that I've seen in this competition. So congratulations to the winner, and I'm gonna open up the stage for the next speaker.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, man, that game is so juicy. Like the first time I queued into it and like the drill falls, I was in. I was locked. Like that drill drop was such a cool effect. So the game I'm reviewing is Eden 7 Exodus. And I'm gonna run the WebGL build, and I'll explain why in a second. And hopefully I don't start yelling. The game is a little bit loud, so I'll try to keep my my headphones back a bit. I'm just gonna pull them back off my head. Maybe turn the volume down. Let me see if I can full screen this. We'll start. All right, so we've got these 3 lanes, and then we have this nice aiming reticle going out and extending here. And then the idea is we try to stay on the lanes, and then we can shoot to destroy who we're fighting. So I want to blow this guy up. I don't know why, but I seem to want to always destroy as many of these as possible, even if it's not in my lane. Oh. So that's pretty much... Oh, no, the rolling one's got me. And then my health will decline. Your distance goes up. You've got your whole integrity. Yep, I'm in trouble. I'm dead. Okay. So that was the game. I'm gonna go ahead and quit it here, and I'm gonna close this tab just so the music stops yelling at me. And overall, first of all, just a great game. Like really fun, straightforward. The execution was good. There wasn't a ton of complexity to it, but it was really, really fun to play, which I really enjoyed. The reason I ran it as the WebGL build is because when I pulled the GitHub repo down, it was missing some of the important Unity folders that I needed to like look at stuff. And so I had to basically manually import the game, right? Which normally wouldn't be a problem because I had to do that. Like parts of the setup didn't come along with the game. And so I couldn't review it in editor as thoroughly as I would have liked to. So just a side note, when you're looking at your gitignore or however you're uploading those files, take a look at what you're uploading, because I think like it was missing, like there's a couple files you can get rid of inside of Unity, but it was missing like the small asset directory, I think, and something else. And so basically like when you pull it down, I had all of your code, I had all of your assets, I just didn't have like the config stuff. And so it kind of threw off the review there, just a side note. So that's one of my first big notes of feedback, because the code was actually really, really, really solid. It was just that piece of it of like, oh man, I really want to run this in editor and play around and see how everything works. And I was still able to do that to a point, but it didn't run as expected, like it does in WebGL, because some of the hookups were missing. On profiling the game, I mean, you can all see here, it's really, really, really clean. 16 milliseconds is 60 FPS, and I think we get, this is like me turning it off, but otherwise we're looking at just a nice, clean execution. You do have, those little spikes popping up here and there, but otherwise, game ran really, really beautifully. Looking at some of the code stuff, where is my code window? I'm jealous of all you writer users. One day. Let me see if I can full screen this. Cool. All right. So I wanted to first talk about, I really love the way that inheritance was set up for the turret system. So you have like your turret base, and then everything kind of inherits from that, and you had your different abstract classes. It was just a really nice, well set up system there. And I also really, really liked how everything was set up with essentially events, right? We just had event after event after event, and everything was hooked together through events, and so it just ran really fluidly. One of the things I also found really interesting is, Saurav was mentioning before, there is just like a native Unity pooling class, but they decided to roll their own instead, and I thought it was really nice, and it was a very eloquent setup. One of the things I liked is throwing some extra little pieces in there. So where's the at? Let's see, return object. So there's get object, and I believe there was a get object at, which I really, really enjoyed because that basically allowed you just to get, request object at. So this request object at essentially just lets you say, like, I want the object and I want it here, which I just thought was a nice little wrap up. So you don't have to think about, oh, I'm going to assign these variables here and in a later place. It's just like, I'll just do it with my request, which I thought was really, really nice. Just a nice little quality of life piece, which was good there. There's other stuff that I was really excited about. The projectile beam, again, pretty straightforward physics.raycast stuff. One of the few things I saw put in the update method, which in this instance makes sense because you need to make sure that that projectile beam is always pointing and changing according to the cursor, right? So you need that snappy, instantaneous stuff. And that's another thing I really, really enjoyed about this project is everything felt very selective of like, okay, I know this needs to happen here, but everything else I can move out of these types of areas. So I think optimization was definitely heavily thought about inside of this. The only other real point of note I have for this, because honestly, I thought like when Sorav and Robin, when Sorav specifically said from last year that everything was a step above the rest, like it was just so well executed. Like everything was so rock solid. The only like other nitpick I could find is, and this doesn't even really impact the code base very much, but there's a lot of little like commented out variables and like commented out pieces of code throughout this. Like throughout different classes, there's just random stuff that's like commented out because it's not being used. You could just go through and clean that up, just to kind of tidy up the code base a little bit, make it a little cleaner, and then maybe leave a little bit of documentation behind about how your systems are working. Would have been super helpful as well. Just for someone reviewing it, trying to go through, give us a little bit of a guide, or for future you, if you come back in 6 months to a year to expand the game or change it, and you're like, wait, how did I design this system, or why did I do it this way? Leaving some evidence behind for yourself can be really, really useful. And it'll make future you like past you a little bit more. So yeah, those are really the only notes I had on. Otherwise, I just thought it was really eloquent. It was well put together, and it was just a great game in general. So congrats, and thank you so much for the awesome submission.
All right. We're like ahead of the schedule a little bit, but cool, fantastic. I mean, yeah, we've done this already quite a few times, so definitely would love to do it again. So thank you very much, Saraf. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Thomas, and of course, thank you everyone, because those games were amazing. I played them, and what can I say? Those are like fantastic, and even though the industry is going through these turbulent times, but when you play all those games and see the creativity in people, I would never be able to do anything like that. So it's amazing to see how creative like minds we have. So yeah, I'm quite positive in a way that this industry is gonna survive this storm and will thrive into something new.
Oleg, regarding that, so last year when we were doing this, me and Thomas, I thought people were doing their best, but some of the things were kind of still like rookie mistakes. But this year I was really amazed to see a lot of absolutely top class code, which could really land anyone a proper job in the games industry. So that was a really a big honor to actually witness and see and examine.
And I think in times of strife and turmoil, that type of thing, right? Like it's a great time in these times of shift to like keep hardening and like enhancing those skills and get the practice in. And so yeah, I agree with Swarov. Like I felt like we saw just a ton of that this year. So yeah, you should definitely keep doing game jams and submitting stuff and practicing, because I think that's how we all just continually get better.
It's not only about, of course, the winners, like everybody who finished something or got to a state and submitted something. You can be so proud of yourself. Like it's really that's already such a great achievement, and carry on. And this means nothing. This is no setback. This is actually This is a great stepstone towards whatever you want to try to achieve. So good luck and have fun.
Thank you so much. And I wanted to say that, yes, thank you very much. Of course, Robin and Tina Games joining us. Last time we only had the guys joining. So we have, yeah, it's fantastic to have you guys supporting this as well. So we'll carry on. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for the reviews and being available. And of course, special thanks to you, Thomas, for drafting always interesting twists to these challenges. Like, I mean, the briefs, things like that. And for everyone who is participating, just as always, reminded that those briefs that we do for these challenges, that's typically is a test task that is given to you. So I know that most of you who join these competitions are juniors looking to break into the industry. So I encourage you to continue. Now you participated, so now you can see what is the test task going to be to look like when you get to join. At least I know that one of the winners is still studying. I don't know about the rest, but I just saw that in his email. He's still like a student. So this is great, actually, that you see now you know what to expect when you're going to be like looking for that or entering that first job. So you are most probably going to be given a task, a coding task, and we try to make this coding, like these briefs for these challenges, to look as much as possible to the coding tasks that you are be given. So in the way that for all of those of you who haven't taken part in this, I encourage you to join like next time. Fantastic. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you, Robin, Thomas, Saurav.
See y'all again. Hopefully next year. We'll see.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So now we are coming to the end of the day. I want to thank all of you for being with us. This is the first time that we hosted the event as a LinkedIn Live and YouTube. So many of you I know have participated in our previous events. I appreciate if you take time, connect with me on Discord in a chat, and give me please your honest feedback, what kind of things we need to do and what kind of things we need to improve. We want to continue doing these events. We're looking for different ways to gain that popularity. So please do it. If you are not yet there on Discord, so I encourage you to, of course, get in touch with us there. It's a recruitment event. So we had companies looking for new talents, FunPlus, MetaQuest, Strikers, and Giants. These are also sponsors of the event. So once again, I want to encourage you to connect with these companies. They have dedicated Q&A channels there and job channels on Discord. So please see what kind of roles they're hiring for and connect with them there on Discord. So once again, FunPlus, MetaQuest, Strikers, Giants, and it's great that in these turbulent times there are companies that are looking to hire more people, and they actually have many jobs like opening there. Then for those of you tomorrow, we will continue with the little on-site event here in Helsinki. So those of you who are joining us tomorrow, we are going we're going to send, like, we're going to meet tomorrow. You have there will be one-on-one sessions, a few presentations from the local partners there as well. So please be on time. We have limited spots for the one-on-one reviews tomorrow, and you will receive a reminder from us. So tomorrow, what you need to do is to have your resume with you. Please have it ready, or a portfolio. It doesn't have to be printed, but bring it on a laptop, on a pad, like whatever, to get some valuable feedback. If you are not coming tomorrow, can't make it, and you registered with the Eventbrite, please cancel your registration, because we have a huge waiting list there. And I think this is about it. Vasya, if you can hear me, did I forget anything? is there anything that we need to mention more? Yeah. Well, with that being said, I thank you so much for being with us today. You can still connect with us on LinkedIn. You can still catch up the companies. So thank you very much for joining us.